All right.
Welcome, welcome to our second. I don't know what we're calling these class. Second class module.
That works.
Yeah, last week we talked a bit about some principles of design, at least what I focus on, and we'll definitely go over these as we go. I'll bring them up. I like to demo and kind of bring them up as I think about them. Um, Rather than because last week I kind of threw them all at you, and I'm guessing they didn't all stick, which is kind of my theory behind just teaching straight up lessons every time for an hour. I don't know if that's the most effective way. I think that showing them in practice is a bit more effective. That's my personal opinion. Um, if you guys want more long form lessons, let me know, and I can try and work on those. But uh, personally, I in school used to just kind of zone out during those, um, which is bad, but that's how I was. So to this week, I saw your guys' stories, and I just want to say first of all that I'm actually like blown away how much creativity and how good they were as a whole. I think that you guys did a really good job for those that submitted the homework. Um, I noticed there were a few that were added this morning. I don't know if I'll get to those in class because I haven't had a chance to go over them. Because this isn't just like looking at a piece of art I have to read. So I wrote down notes for everyone. What I'll try to do today or tomorrow is possibly if I have anything specific I think you need to work on, I'll go comment on the thread. If I don't say anything, that's good. That's probably a good thing. Like you can just go for it. So I'll try and bring up things that I think you might need help with or something. So I'm looking at my list of things that I wanted to go over last week and seeing if there's anything left over. But I think we pretty
Sorry,
much covered everything. Yes.
can I interrupt you? I don't think I had the link for the homework, so I just post on the forum, but I don't know if it's a good
Uh,
place.
I need to, it needs to go into the Corey Hubble class. It's kind of I'm trying to figure out how to exactly get there. I think you need to click on class here. Let's see. So you click up here and you just click this where it says class,
Yeah.
and then it's really small. Corey Hubble, and then class forum. Is that
Okay.
right? Am I going to the right place? Oh, and then week one up here at the top.
Okay.
Where you,
Thanks.
does that make sense? So post it in there, and if you didn't get it there today, I'll try to get to it. Um,
Okay.
if these go fairly quickly, I'll try to look over it. Maybe when we have a break today, I'll try and read over whatever I missed, um, and then give some quick feedback after the break. So
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, and that was feedback from last week that we should probably try and take a break so that people can use the restroom and get a drink. And I'm fully in support of that. I just forget because I get going. Um, okay, so the order of these changed a little bit, I think, but we'll try and figure my way out. So I'm going to start with David K, who was the first. I'm just going to.
Actually, could
Oh
I
yeah.
go
Go. Any question?
last or later? Because I've just been playing catch up since getting back to California, and I had class yesterday, so I'm just about to upload my reference board. It's kind of big, so I'm all down to go last and give other people a chance.
Sure. And I don't need to. I'm not really critiquing reference boards today or anything. Like I think that. I mean, I can if you want, but I was more just making sure that everyone kind of had the idea of what a character is and what they need to be thinking about is in
Oh
terms of
yeah,
like.
I just
Well,
would
no worries.
being able to see the reference that would go along with it, maybe change your feedback a little bit so you could see where I think I'm going with this. That's kind of what I mean.
It's up
If
to you.
not, go ahead,
No, no,
however you
I
want to
can
do it.
wait. It's totally up to you. I'm not saying that yet. Okay, so I'll move on to Ellen. I don't know if I know Ellen's last
And
name.
so I can go last? Is that all
Yeah,
right?
fine.
Awesome. Thank you.
Whatever you want. Um, so my comment for Ellen would be that I think you need a little bit more to make these a little more interesting. So you have tracker, sniper gun, assault, dagger, support, shield, artillery. My main, yeah, my main thing would be at least try to come up with something that can inform their story or their visuals, right? Like, does the sniper wear a big fur coat, or like, you know, for instance, Metal Gear Solid, the sniper in that had like, did she have wolves, um, and she was called Wolf, and there were things about her, you know, that there was a theme. So trying to come up with like a theme or a backstory that influences what she looks like, what's her personality, or his personality. Um, you know, you know, is there a special function that they do? Like if we're talking about Overwatch, Black Widow has like a grapple hook. You don't have, and you know, if you're making a sniper that's more for a first-person shooter, I didn't even see the art. Let me look at this really quick. Okay, so it looks like you have some silhouettes going on, and I'm not gonna necessarily touch on silhouettes this week. I will say I think these are a really good start, and we can push them more, and I can kind of show you how to do that a bit. The main thing I say is they need a little bit more negative space, and I think you could push the pose a little bit. So let me stick back to my initial feedback, though. So, like Assault Dagger, I think that's your first. Oh, that's Tracker. This one's Assault. That's kind of more like a rogue-looking character. Yeah, I'd like to see, the reason I have you guys do this is I'd like to just see you think out the character a bit. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, that's a bad idea or a good idea. I might say I like that idea, but I'm not going to critique her. I'm just trying to make sure that it's, because when you get tasked with the character, when you're working, a lot of the time, it's about, they'll know kind of what this character is a lot of the time, or they'll know what their personality is or what the function needs to be at least. And so taking that to heart when you design this character is really important. So I'm just trying to give you guys something to start with for a more authentic experience, rather than just doing a bunch of silhouettes and picking one you like and making up a story around it. And that's fine too. I do that at work too. Sometimes they're like, hey, we need like a villain. Can you just think something up? But the thing is, while I'm doing those silhouettes, I'm coming up with little stories for each one if I can, because it really helps inform what I put down, right? It's like a general direction. So this is great. I like that you have three different sizes of characters. I'd say you could probably push the silhouettes to be different from each other a little bit more. Like, you might want to, like, with a silhouette, I don't know if I'd have them folding their arms unless I painted in a little bit more with what's going on there. But, yeah. And for a lot of this feedback, I might get in there and do, like, red line paint overs and stuff like that. There's a lot of students this semester, so just as a warning, I might not be able to give everybody feedback in class, but I'll do my best to get on the forums and try and, like, throughout the week, maybe in advance, give little feedback and stuff like that so I can spread it out, and we're not spending too much time doing that. Move on to the next one. So, and like for silhouettes, I'll probably look at those more next week, but I'm glad that you're getting a head start on those. So that's great, Alan. Good job. So, do you go by Dom, Dominique? I think we'll call you Dom. So let's see what I wrote down, because I'm not going to sit here and read all this. So, okay, I liked your ISS idea a lot. I thought that was really cool. Like having in my mind, I thought of having like a huge network of, if you've seen the ISS, it's basically like a series of tubes with a big solar panel sticking off the top. But having this big network of the tubes and the habitats connected and just orbiting, and then having maybe new ones start up in other areas, I thought that was a really cool idea and a cool starting point. And I think your team sounds good. This is a really good example of just probing their backstory a little bit, some traits that they might have that will inform your silhouette. It'll inform how big they are or how much space they take up in their shape. Dom's is a really good example, and I think really easy to read and digest quickly. So I'd say you have a really good example of what I was looking for. And I don't know the style of your game. So something to keep in mind, guys, is that the style is going to inform your silhouettes and your designs when you go further with those. Like if it's more cartoony or more the tones lighter, you're going to have maybe bigger objects, like less detail putting it, put into all those little things. Whereas a realistic character is going to have a lot more small detail and a lot more internal shapes going on, like a realistic shooter or something like that. So Dom, I think I'd say you're good to just go. I don't know what style you're going for, but you could probably work with it. Make sure that your 3 characters or 4 characters are all recognizable from a far read. That's what we're going for with this next assignment. So I thought this was great. It looks like there's another story. I didn't even see these. Glancing through, fantastic. I like your story ideas are really great. I think you have really good worlds that you've created. It seems like you don't have do you have individual characters? Let's see through the twins. Oh yeah, the twins. I'd say you might want to think about the actual character traits a little bit more, but your world building is really awesome, and your ref boards are really cool, which makes me think you're definitely going to think that through when you get down to it. So just come up with specific characters and make sure that they have their own personalities. World building is fantastic there. Luke. So I liked this a lot. I thought the idea of the brother and sister, when they're close together, they get this armor. So I think that really sparked a lot of cool game mechanic ideas in my head, where maybe they're in a jail together or something like that, trying to get out, and then between a wall they might have when they're in 2 rooms that are close to each other. Then you have that boss fight when they get their power armor or something like that. You could have a lot of mechanics where, for some reason, they can't be completely together and they're trying to find each other. So that was cool. I actually had an idea. It reminds me of I was working at a place called Kryptonite, and this guy came in and he had handlebar mustache, and then another guy had facial hair that completely was the opposite. He had a little thing. I'll draw it. I don't know why I'm spending time to say this, but it's just really funny. So one guy had a handlebar mustache, and the other guy had this going on. And I was like, you guys have perfectly opposite facial hair. And then someone suggested, if you guys kissed, it would be one beard. And that gave me the idea, if of it's 2 superheroes, when their special powers was that they did a really manly kiss, and their beard became one beard, and they had beard powers. So anyway, that's just a ridiculous idea that reminded me of. I'll get back to the lessons. Sorry. I hope I didn't offend anybody with that. I'm not even looking at the chat. So back to this. Really good. Love your ref sheets. I think you have a really cool kind of space opera thing going on here. 1 second, I have to go open the door. Sorry about that. Okay. How are you saying? Oh, and Luke, I really want to see with those. I'd like to see their kind of before and after armor, and you can even have different levels of armor. I'm thinking you can do a lot of stuff with that, layers of armor. You might focus on one character and their different progressions or something there's lots of stuff you can do if you think about it in a game format. Okay, Pally. Okay, this is Treasure Island. Is it Pally? Am I saying that right? It's basically Treasure Island, is that right? Or based on loosely?
Yes.
Yes. So that's awesome. I think that my main thing would be to make sure it doesn't look like Treasure Planet, if you've seen that movie.
Yeah, I will try. I'm gonna avoid that
Yeah,
altogether.
because it's totally cool. I would just say, yeah, like try to avoid that. I want to see your take on it, which is really cool. Otherwise, I think you've done a really good job of fleshing these characters out.
Oh, the image didn't show up. That's
Oh,
weird.
right here, I just have a write up.
Oh, I upload those images. It didn't show up for some
Let me
reason.
try and reload it. Maybe it's yeah, I don't see him in here. Maybe you put another thread. I don't know. But
Can I up real quick?
yeah, it's fine.
Give me 1 second.
I'll come back to you. Just let me know when it's up there.
Thank you.
So, Dominique Cohot. Oh, we have two Dominiques. Dominic Kohutek. I'm sorry if I pronounce. I will pronounce your names wrong. I guarantee it, and I will probably mix you guys up, and I will forget things. Please forgive me in advance. So I'm not sure I read this one. I think this might have come through.
If you want, I can just summarize it up quickly.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and just pitch it?
So I was thinking about two themes. One is fantasy-based, and the other one is more sci-fi-based.
Mm-hmm.
The first theme is about ghostly carriers. They were shot and they are now ghosts, more or less, but they were more or less henchmen of a queen. And I want to show how they look before and after they more or less die.
Fantastic. I love it. That's great. Yeah, I think. Yeah, like I'd like to see a couple different shapes from those ghosts. It'd be really cool if, like, their ghosts were a little more exaggerated than their human forms, right? Based on maybe their personalities or something, or their traits. Might be something interesting.
Exactly.
Looks like you have Sky Fisherman and 24th Century.
Yeah, and this is the second theme because I want to also do a science fiction based one, especially as you are a Halo character designer. So three different characters, but they are all in different universes.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, okay. They're all different. Cool. I think. Yeah. It looks like you're going to be good to go with coming up with ideas. So I really like the ghost idea a lot. I think that could be super fun. I've been meaning to design a ghost character recently. I'd like to see what you do with that. So yeah,
Sorry, I uploaded the images.
cool. Good job, Dominic. I think you're on a good path. I'm just making sure that everyone hears from me. This is great. Keep going, or maybe try and add in a little bit, because this is going to be probably your easiest assignment of the whole class. Okay. There we go. Come on. Okay, so much of astronaut stuff. Some Callum Alexander Watt over here.
Yeah.
Ooh, cool. They're already getting started. Oh, that's nice. I really like the rest area, like the amount of rest area you've got going on here. I think where you could probably go from here is just tightening up some of this detail, like trying to just. I'm not going to get too much into art this time, but the main thing I'm seeing when looking at these together is there could be a little more rest area, or you could put like value behind stuff, so you could subjugate the colors. Meaning, if you have this area be darker against a white area, suddenly it reads better, even if you have a bunch of drawn detail, because drawings tend to just look more busy. That's the problem, because with drawings you have to kind of draw your form changes as well. It like doubles your noise, right? So I think you've got some really good ideas here.
I was just trying to warm up.
Yeah, no, these are fun. Oh, that's kind of fun, like the little side ones, the little side thrusters. Cool. And your story idea was, oh yeah, like so you're going like full on, like you're talking about the Kuiper belt, right? How do you pronounce that? Is it Kipper? Kuiper?
I think it's Quipper.
Kuiper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that you're kind of taking an actual near future sci-fi approach that's awesome.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'd say move forward with your thumbs.
Thanks.
Yeah, good job. Oh wait, 1 second. Let me. Yeah, you fleshed out your characters and gave them personalities and stuff. That's great. Josh Belair. This link isn't working when I click on it for some reason. Just reload. What is going on here? My internet didn't die, did it? 1 second. It says waiting for Travis for Pogo.
I hope it's not because I'm literally trying to upload my reference board right now.
I don't.
It's like hanging at 100.
Oh, did yours do the same thing? Maybe their server it reloaded. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Alright, I'm trying to remember if I read through this or not. Let me look through the notes. I don't know if I saw this one. They got all... Oh, yeah, I did. Glad I took notes. Oh, I really like this idea, where they're actually like a team of planet vetters almost, like they're vetting planets. They're going out and testing the survivability. That's really cool. I think that gives you a fantastic basis for a video game. Like, that would be really fun to kind of... That's almost like No Man's Sky, but you're going there to sort of make sure that it's ready for colonization, or if give you a recommendation, or maybe get it ready. I don't know. That's really cool. I think that your 3 characters are also split up really well into 3 different shapes that will read very well against each other. Yeah, this is good. The only thing I could say is try to come up with a little bit of backstory to influence what they might wear or put on their bodies, right? That's everyone's story or history is going to influence their clothing and their personalities and equipment. So that's, if you haven't thought about that, try and think about it at least a little bit. I'm just realizing for my own characters, I forget to do that myself, which is why I maybe bringing it up so much. Like, it does come a little bit later. Like, that's more for internal details. Right now, we're thinking mostly about large readable shapes and function and stuff like that. But the story details really come into play when you're filling out those inside shapes. Where was I? Guillermo. Oh yeah, you have really cool ref boards, by the way. I need to save these. This is like the most comprehensive. I wonder if you can upload some high res ones for us, because everyone should probably have these. Because I guarantee you're gonna have to, if or when you get a job as a concept artist, you're gonna have to draw an astronaut at some point. So.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and upload those on high res for you guys.
High res up there, because I think everyone should save these. They're really, really good ref boards. Well, as far as a broad approach, like these, I wouldn't say that this narrows things down, but it's a great, if you're actually coming up with thumbs and stuff like that, it's really, really good. So, this was the... Let me look at my notes here, just because I don't have time to read the whole thing. Oh, yeah, I think this is good. I think my main teams are exposed by pilot, communication engineer, technician. I think you have a good world. I would say, again, try and come up with a little personality story for each one. And you're going to need to distinguish silhouettes from each other well. So that's the main thing to think about with this. But your ref words are really great. I like see right here. You has been in this job for years. The new guy, 2nd year in research. Those alone are going to influence the character. I think a little bit more for those, at least while you're working. You don't have to write them up and send them to me anyway, either, by the way, guys. You just have to, you just should be thinking about them as you go forward. So, cool world. I like you guys have, I'm seriously blown away by how many interesting sci-fi and fantasy ideas you guys have been putting out. A lot of sci-fi, actually, I'm noticing. I think it's on our minds. Wait, I looked it. Okay, Cody Turcotte. Oh, I like this one a lot too. It's almost like kind of Doctor Strange almost, but more sci-fi. Oh wait, this is a different one. So this is a different one than I was thinking. So this is the space station one, right? And you have the first one that has it has like you control zombies and has a scalpel. My main thought with that was really cool for gameplay. You might have a hard time making an interesting silhouette out of like a mad scientist. You can. I'm not saying don't do it. The other thing is that a scalpel, from my experience, is a really tiny weapon to put in a game. I would be worried that it wouldn't show up. Like I can almost guarantee an art director would say, no, I think we need something that's a little bit more of a noticeable weapon. So like he could have some kind of a surgical, like a bone saw or something like that, right? Or a surgical, something that you can tell he is actually holding, because if he's
that makes sense.
Yeah, it just would look like he's kind of trying to poke you with this thumb almost. And that's just something that comes from experience, like just knowing what will read and what will not in a video game is something that hopefully I can help you guys understand a bit. So, like in Halo, so for instance, Halo 4, we were putting all these little tiny floaty bits on things, and we still did that in Halo 5, but I would hear from animators like, oh, those little bits just look like a bug, like they don't look like they're supposed to be there. And so I took that to heart and stopped trying to do little floaty parts. I was doing only big ones, or noticeable ones, right? Like, they look like they're really designed. So if you play Halo 5, that's if you play with the light rifle scope that splits apart. I helped to design that, and I remembered that feedback from that animator and applied it there to go, okay, this needs to look like the parts need to be noticeable and intentional in their design, not just a little triangle that looks like it is not supposed to be there. So, tangent over. I thought your ideas for 2 and 3 were stronger. I really liked these ones. Like I think about, was this the search and rescue robot's really fun. I think that you could do a lot of cool stuff with that. The function of carrying, how does it pick up a person, right? Does it have a backpack that's specifically created to put it on? You know, like there's a lot of really cool things with that. And I like that you've thought about gameplay mechanics and written them down. I also suggest that to everybody else. If you didn't think about gameplay mechanics or how they actually fit into a game and what they do, that would be a good time to think about, especially with this first phase. So, yeah, cool. Good job. I'm not saying that. I think that, by the way, the mad scientist guy with the zombies would be really cool in a game, because he would be using the zombies against you. For the purposes of this class, it might be a fun challenge. You're like, how do I make a scientist look interesting? You're also going to have to draw zombies, I think, to go with him. So that might be something you save for later if you have time, or to apply what you learn later, maybe. Yeah. If you have any questions, let me know. By the way, guys, you can just chime in while I'm talking. Was that Cody? Okay, John Valera. I don't think I saw this one. Was this today at 5:28 a.m.? I guarantee I did not see this one. I'll have to get back to that unless you want to hop on and summarize for me, John. Are you there? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let me write that in my notes to come back to John Valera. Elias. I did not see. Did I see? Oh no, I did see this one. I thought this was cool. I like that you're thinking about what kind of game it is. I like that you were, it's a MOBA. He was saying it's a MOBA, and he has this kind of really cool idea for these really mythical giant. I don't know if they're giant or not, but mythical beings. And I thought this was really, really good reference sheet. A good idea. I like how you're thinking about the shapes that you're going to use, rectangular, pentagonal shapes, and you're thinking about colors already. That's great. I'm trying to think. Let me see my notes here. Nice. I know I wrote something down. Oh yeah, I was going to say, I really like that you drew out the abilities. And you've already started on your thumb, so that's great. This something's fun about this, like these long gangly arms like chained down. I think that's really cool. I'm not saying go that direction, but I think that you have some interesting ideas. I'll have to get back to those at a certain point. Yeah, I really like that you've thought about these, how you've thought about these, and you've got your 3 distinct shapes from each other. You've thought out abilities. This is a really good thing to do, guys, is like once you kind of have an idea of what they do or what their nature is, drawing some little functional, like function sketches or ability sketches like these, like animations almost, that will help you determine more what they look like sometimes. So if you're stuck, that can be a good way to jump off and try and help yourself out. Yeah, I might have some notes on the individual drawings and stuff like that. I'll try to get to those either today or in the forum. Probably in the forum. There's so many students. This is good, but here's the one that was more like the Doctor Strange in space, right? Seems like
it's more of a fantasy though.
Fantasy, yeah, more like, oh, it's fantasy. Never mind. You know what? I was reading so many story ideas yesterday; they got all mixed up. But I just remember really liking this one as I read through it. I think that especially when I see it accompanied with your ref board, it's got like this kind of dark fantasy feel to it. Oh, a kitten on my lap. I just got a visit from a little kitten. I think, yeah, it's got a really cool feel to it when I see your ref board. I'll look down here. You should check out, I think I wrote down that you should check out Wayne Barlow's art if you haven't seen his stuff. Whereas he's really
he's great.
Functional, organic things. And they're animals that move in a different way than you're used to. So that might be something, kind of like you have here with the double legs. And I will try to get you a little, since you've gotten further ahead, I think. I would say before painting anything, focus on trying a few different, and you may know what you want already, but I'd say try focusing on a few little silhouettes without getting too far into the illustration or drawing. You may have already had these or what, but like
these were actually just fun sketches during the week.
Cool, no worries. Yeah, this is freaky. I'm digging this bottom one. That's horrifying in a good way. So,
thanks.
I'll see if I have. I'll try and find some feedback for you, some feedback time for you, and get back to you on the forum.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, good job. I think your
thank you.
idea is really solid, and you've fleshed your characters out.
I have everything uploaded, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, do you want to go now, David, or?
If you want, or I can go last. Your choice.
Here, I'll save you for last.
Okay.
Where were we? That was Kari. Is it Carrie? Kari? I don't know how to say that.
You said it right. It's Kari.
Kari, cool.
Yep.
Shane
Thanks.
Stover. Good job. I don't think I saw this one. If you want to summarize, I can listen. But I'll just read through these pictures. Email leader. Okay. Hazmat suit. Male, large in size, muscle group, large suit.
I can give you a quick summary.
Sure.
Yeah, it's basically about my son, and so he doesn't sleep at night, and he grunts and farts most of the night. So basically, there's like a team of micro soldiers that go into him at night, and they try to evacuate all the gas bubbles and all the things that are keeping him awake at night. So that's their mission, basically.
That's cool. I really like these helmets. There's some really cool ideas here. They're kind of like fun and weird, and I like them. This bottom right one's really awesome.
Yeah,
They're robot. I don't know if they're robots or helmets or what, but
yeah, they were going to be. I mean, it could be both, I guess, but mostly robots. They're kind of robot companion.
it's fun. Just looking through here. Cool. I think I'm getting a good idea. Yeah, I think that's a good way to. That's a good direction to push in. Hearing your idea, I wonder what your tone will be. Like, do you want to push these a little bit more cartoony or stylized? That might fit the tone, the comedy of it better. But maybe you want to juxtapose the comedy against like a really serious team of. Maybe that's what you're going for. I'm not sure, but it looks kind of like slightly stylized, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to figure out too, is how comedy to go, but I do kind of want to do something techy. So yeah, I'm trying to figure that out, I guess.
Studies and stuff. I'd say, looking at this, I'd say I would study a little anatomy this week going forward. Just brush up on it a bit. Like, her legs are looking a little long here. And these are great. Like, I think that your strength right now, what I'm seeing is your ability to come up with a lot of tech elements and put them together. I'll have some feedback for you on like flow and how you put plates and stuff on, and where you put cut lines, and kind of how to make it a design appealing as far as like where you put areas of rest and stuff like that. I'll get to you there. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on story stuff. But cool. I really appreciate the footwork. I think this is your strongest page here. There's something really fun about these. They almost look like Star Wars droids. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, go for it. With your thumb assignment this week, I think that's great. What are you doing? We just got a new kitten, and he's just causing all sorts of trouble for me right now. He's trying to play with the cords on my computer.
What did you name him?
His name is Moose. Oh yeah, you saw it. Yeah, I had a Facebook status that was asking what people thought I should name the cat. I wanted to name the cat Boba Fett, but my wife won. Don't think I read this one, but it looks a little long. Okay, so I'll get down to. I'm gonna skip the world stuff. It looks like you've got that well fleshed out. Asteroid mine technician. Just glancing over this, I'd say that you have a really good idea of what you want to do, which is just what I'm making sure of people. So I think, Jake, I think you're good to go. Again, as the feedback for everyone is just make sure that your characters are recognizable from each other. And like, for instance, with a game like Halo, the Spartans are really difficult to look different from each other from far away. I think that Gabo did a pretty good job. Or if you go look at Halo Reach, Isaac Hannaford did a really good job with that, making sure that they all had, even though they're Spartans and have very similar armor, they still looked different from far away. And we as humans can tell pretty slight differences, so even when you get down to like a more realistic proportion game, you're not having big goofy shapes and stuff, you can still push that stuff quite a bit. Leonardo Brazio. Trying to remember. Okay, yeah. New contacts with alien races. I think your beginning sketches are pretty cool. Don't get too far ahead, like with drawing out stuff right now. And I do it too, and I actually usually work kind of more like that. But I'm really trying to make sure we go through an exploration phase a little bit more before we start making decisions. I think this is promising though for where you want to go. Like I really dig the feel of that. And oh yeah, you were talking about the 3 bosses. Is that this one? Yeah, the aliens that had the trio of alien bosses. I think that's a really good idea. Come up with a little bit of a backstory for those aliens. What are their personalities? Why are they doing what they're doing? And I know you're like kind of pitching this as though it's a mystery, but I would like, I want to make sure you know who and what they are and why they look the way they do. So good job, good footwork. I like your world and story premise. These look like your sketches. Cool. Harpoon gun. Oh, right. This is one where they hole up and make new tech to escape. Oh. That's interesting because maybe if you played what's the alien game? The recent really good horror alien game where you're on the ship and you're having to craft stuff to fight them. I thought of that when I read that, which is kind of a cool idea where you're having to use. I think you could take it a lot further. Like you're pulling pipes off the wall and making weapons with them out of or here's a device. You need, you could have a crafting system. Yeah, isolation. It would be almost like, it almost makes me think of like one of the survival games that's really popular now. But you start inside that ship and you have to craft your way up to building really cool weapons to fight your way out. So yeah, designing some really top tier weapons would be a good idea. And what do those look like when you've literally just had to develop them inside a room? Because I don't think they'd be too advanced from what you've described. Am I talking about a different? Yeah, that's right. Okay, and then you had the other one. I think the bouncer at the Cyberpunk Club was pretty fun. You could have I just picture like RoboCop, and he's got a bunch of extra stuff that makes him look all dangerous. You could almost do a comedic thing with that. And then same as World 2. Oh yeah, the scavenger who enters the blocks. I thought that sounded. I liked that because it was kind of like Rey from Star Wars, the new Star Wars. Yeah, but like with more equipment almost. I like that. I think any of those is going to be really great. So just make sure you know that try and come up with a little bit of their backstory, like why are they wearing what they're wearing and who are they as a person. Cool. I'm going to say this name wrong for sure. Oh, that's really nice. Those are great. Studies. This one especially. I remember. Oh, the Cyber Noir. That was cool. I think the Cyber Noir is great. You had these silhouettes. I think this is. I like the lighting and stuff on this silhouette. This is an example of a really good silhouette that makes me want to know more about that character. It's not even that complex. It's the thing about iconic characters is that a lot of the time they're the simplest characters. If you think of Mario or Zelda, especially at least in video games, Zelda, Master Chief is basically people see the orange roundish visor with like the green helmet and like the visor, and they go, "Oh, that's Master Chief." And no one can ever make a freaking space helmet anymore without people saying, "Oh, it's Master Chief," or "It's a Spartan." Well, it's like people have a hard time even making a stylized game now, like an MMO that's stylized without people comparing it to World of Warcraft, because they have such an iconic style that it almost people just group other styles into it. So, create a post in the forum for this session. I will warn Corey. I'm just looking. Also, you need to request a membership for clicking on that button.
Yeah, some people don't yet have access to the class forums. It seems
If that's
they just have to contact Travis for access.
Yeah, that's why I kind of gave an assignment that it's like if it's not up, it's not like super vital, right? This is sort of just getting you guys to start thinking, so that we have time to figure out this forum stuff. Email Travis or request permission. I'm glad you guys are helping each other out in the chat. That's really nice. If anyone has any questions in there, I think people will help you out. But you just need to request permission, and then you can post. And if for some reason you can't ever get it to work for you, we can figure something else out. We were doing Dropbox for the last class, and that wasn't really ideal because, I don't know, it's not that bad, but this is nice that it's all there and easy to access. So, and also, people can chime in with each other. You guys can actually talk with each other throughout the week. You're going to find, as students, my opinion, like I went to school, and one of the best things about school was I feel like getting feedback from my peers was a huge help. And a lot of the time the teachers weren't available, so it was mostly me getting help from my peers. And I had a character design class where I've considered doing this, where the teacher had everybody sort of take the assignment, and we as a class would separate them into good, medium, and bad. And I don't want to label stuff like that in this class, but it was really helpful for us because we would get a read from other people in the class, not just the teacher, and it was very clear. It was always very accurate what went up on the good, medium, and bad walls. And sometimes it caused some tension. Is the problem was why I won't do that, because sometimes people would get their feelings hurt and they would be petty and they would take. I think one time I put someone's on the bad wall and they went and took mine off the good wall and put it on the bad wall because they were mad. But my point is, try and be helping each other out and giving each other feedback in these threads if you can. If you have the time and you feel like it, the more you guys do that, and the more you'll get feedback, and you can also request feedback from other people. But yeah, that's the things. Art school, sometimes people were, a little petty, but that's, if you can't take a critique, you're not going to make it in this industry. And I hope that guy realized that. I don't know what he's doing in his life, but you really need to be able to take criticism and take it gracefully. And yes, you can defend your stuff, but you shouldn't get argumentative, or you can just say, well, it's really great advice, but I totally disagree, and you can stick to your guns. But you can't be petty or spiteful. So my point was not to get into that. It was basically help each other out, please. And that's why we're using the forums. So because you'll have that the positive elements of having an actual class now that we have the internet and stuff. It's so involved in our lives. Cool. I think that Cyber Noir one was great. I can't remember the other story ideas. You had talked about the fighter and the manager and the mechanic. Also really good. You could get some really good silhouettes out of that. I was digging that idea. And also the 3 characters whose job is to clean up and restock game levels, I thought was really fun. It's almost like a spin-off from Wreck-It Ralph, right? That's a great idea, Dave K. I think having Google Hangouts is a great way to do that. You guys, you can get feedback immediately as you draw, or people will say, hey, try this. I've done that with friends. It's really fun. I think any of those are great. I don't know which one you want to pick. Maybe get feedback from other people. If you guys want to go tell, is it Omar Khan?
It's actually Omar Chan.
Omar Chan. Oh man, missed
Omar
it.
Chan, yeah.
Omar Chan.
No problem.
I will get that. I will never pronounce it 100% correct, but I'll try.
That is
uh,
absolutely fine.
yeah. So the idea with the people cleaning up the game levels is super fun. So if you want to go with if your interest, I'd say focus on your interest in art. Is your interest in art more super stylized? I would say go with your third idea. And if you're more interested in like semi-stylized or completely stylized, the other two are good. The noir one almost seems like you go realistic, and then the middle one seems like more Overwatchy. Which I think, by the way, Overwatch is going to become one of those new styles where everyone's like, that looks just like Overwatch. Um, even if it doesn't. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd say it really depends on what you want to draw. And I think from looking at your sketches, you might want to go with the Cyber Noir or this is your fighter?
Yeah, it is. I was just, drawing just to get some ideas and see if I like pursuing that story or not.
Yeah. That's fun. I think that you could push it even more with your silhouette. Like in itself, it's really awesome. But I think I've seen like this silhouette from other people before in a way, and that's not to bag on it at all. Like I think it's really interesting, and I like his legs compared to these shoulder arms and stuff, and also the repetition of these shapes here is really great. I like it a lot. I think maybe you could find a way to push it apart from other silhouettes that I've seen that are similar. And I'm not saying don't take away those elements. I'm saying like this thing where like the tubes make a rib cage, that's special. That's a really special part of this. So having it's impossible to completely avoid your silhouettes and your designs looking similar to other things. I'm not saying that you should completely avoid that, but trying to find something that makes a little weird beyond what you might have seen before is always good, at least in one little area. So, like, what if this guy had a gigantic, one arm is just huge or something, right? And then, or that's kind of what I'm talking about. The pose could maybe be a little more indicative of the personality, maybe. So, this is a really good start, though. And you know what? Yeah, those are 3 really good ideas. So I don't know which one I would pick because I like all of them. Anyway, good job.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any questions, let me know, guys. I'm sorry. I know I tend to ramble and I never stop talking. Just interrupt me. It's okay. It's okay. Is it Misa? Misa? T-Tray. Oh, these were really good story ideas. The forum bumped me down here. Misa Steinmetz, they're both really great. All 3 are great. I think 1 and 3 are your strongest. You've really thought this out. You know their characters. I can tell you know their stories and exactly. The thing is, when you flesh this stuff out in your mind with words first, it's almost easy to come up with what to put on paper. A lot of the time, I will. Before I started making a list of story ideas, I would look at a piece of paper and go, I don't know what to draw. I can't think of anything to draw. I have nothing in my head that I want to draw. But now I just pull out my phone and I look at my list that I keep with me of NPC characters and I'm like, oh, okay, that guy sounds fun, and I'll just start doodling. Like, that's why I'm trying to get you guys to think about this. You will instantly be ahead of those people that never know what to draw, and I've been there too. So, because any one of those little ideas you write can give birth to thousands of props and thousands of characters and thousands of vehicles and weapons. Excuse me. Justin Altman. Let me see what time it is. Okay, we've been going about an hour, so I want to try and bang through these really quickly. Fun silhouettes, like they kind of remind me of how Trevor Claxton does silhouettes, which is good. I think that he's got such a great way of roughing stuff out. I just say try and come up like this little thing off the hip is great. try and come up with a little bit more off the silhouette, just a little bit, just so I can see what's going on. Like, do they have a hat, or maybe show the belt sticking out here, or just try and add like one or two little story elements sticking off that silhouette to get our brains going, if that makes sense. Warfare has become a sport. Human life is insignificant, and death has become entertainment. Pro athletes are basically mercenary. Wow, that is terrifying and awesome. I think that it sounds all I don't know. It's almost like Hunger Games, but the world is Hunger Games, and it's more dark sci-fi. Awesome. One thing I'd say is I'm not seeing a specific character here. I'm necessarily as a character. Like, I want to know, is this guy like Han Solo? Is he, what's his personality? I can tell a little bit from these sketches. He's kind of brash, a little bit cocky, maybe. I like the exaggerate. The pose is selling the character now more than the description, I think. So this is a cool little building. How many do we have left? 1, 2. Sidecar. Oh yeah. Those are some really good examples of good character design, I think. Some Dota 2 in there. Good ref sheets as far as like, are these high res? Because I also want the high res of these. Please. Like if I click, oh yeah, I'm gonna save off those. Okay, stylized character, Dota 2 Overwatch style. That's good. I think that's getting really popular right now, which I'm happy about, because we had like a decade of all the video games being hyper realistic, and frankly, I'm kind of sick of it. I want more stylized games, and I think with indie games and stuff, we're getting more into that. On a way to tab I don't think I've done this yet, but it looks short, so I'll just glance through it. Okay, that's a fun world. I don't see any character. I know I said come up with a story for your characters. I maybe didn't explain it well enough, but just as you go forward, come up with 2 to 3 character ideas that you can flesh out, and just like, what's their story, where did they come from, who are they? By the way, a really good example, I think, like Mises Steinmetz's. This is, as far as like a world with like a character that fits in that world. These are really great. I can immediately picture in my mind even with just the character description is not that long, but the story really supplements it well. So that's good. Toyan? Sorry if I'm saying that wrong.
Hi. Sorry. This is William speaking. Toyan doesn't speak English super well, okay. So I'll be like he'll be typing and I'll be translating for him.
Perfect. That's great. This is William talking?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I like this idea a lot. If I want to make sure I understand it, is it basically that there's sort of like a ruling class that's the wealthy, and then the poverty are sort of hooked up by big wires and stuff to machines? Is that correct? And then they're controlled? I'm just making sure that I understand that.
Yeah, hold up, let me just tell him.
Yeah.
I hope you can hear me, but 托阳他问你知不知道？他说你觉得这个世界是不是跟很多机器有关，对吗？I'm just waiting for. Okay, yeah. Yes. Yeah, he replied to me. Yes, he does.
I like that. Yeah. I think there is a good. We try and sum this up so you can translate well without too much rambling. I think you have a really good idea for how these characters could look, but I want to see maybe. I don't want to see. I just want him to think about individual characters, 2 to 3 individual characters in this world. So maybe a ruling class. Oh, you have like a wealthy character, and he wrote them out. Never mind. So I think those are great. Yeah, I think that the only thing is try to come up with an individual personality for each one if it applies. So
Okay, cool.
And they're good. Really, it's a fun idea. Oh, there's already silhouettes too. And a huge conversation. And you can tell him that we'll get to silhouettes. I'll get to critique on silhouettes either during the week or next week in class.
All right.
If he wants to post them. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Good job.
Sweet.
And very interesting. I have not read this one yet either. Or Kundan? Kundan? Is that right?
Yeah, Kundan.
Looks kind of like a Terminator situation.
Sort of, I can say that. I'm
I'm
still
just reading.
clueless with the rest of the 2 stories, so I need to line up the doors.
Okay. Middle-aged biologist collects survival resources. Hacker do-it-yourself junkie. Accompanied by a helper robot. Helper robot appears very much like humanoid robot with custom parts and attachment. I like that. I think the same advice I've been giving other people, like maybe just as you go, think a little bit more about what each of those does. Why do they look the way they do? Because of function, either game function or historical, their history, or their personality, right? So that's all. That's fine. That's enough to go off of. I can I'm judging these by like, can I picture in my mind what this character looks like right off the bat? I think that there's definitely some of that. You could push the descriptions a little more, but overall, I think you're good to go. So, cool, good job. I'd like, yeah. As we go forward, by the way, we're going to be doing. I think you're going to be collecting more ref and then starting your silhouettes this assignment. So don't worry if you don't have that yet. Did I need to come back to Pally? No, we already talked to Pally. William Bow.
Yeah, I think the images just go up because I uploaded them.
Yeah, it's whatever was last up. Alternate version of the 90s where the space race never ended and war was fought from you. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay. So I wanted to use this class to concept like about 5 or 6 bosses, and they're like the idea is that these are Americans, but they're bad guys.
Okay.
Yeah. The Soviets, right? Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I'm not going to disagree. Maybe a bit more specific to inform. So I was going to say, I said maybe a bit more specific to inform your silhouette. But silhouettes can, silhouettes can always inform the story as well. It sounds like you have like if you have bosses are big time into their function, right? Like they're like the MOBA character. If you're playing an FPS, sometimes a MOBA character or like a fighting character will show up in your game because they are so function based, right? Like with Metal Gear Solid, you have this weird giant roller skating guy.
Batman, yeah.
How to use reference without directly copying it is a question I just got. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I think that your story basis is really awesome. But just try and come up with when you're doing bosses, you want to really think about their ability or how they're being fought, right? So
I have 2 files attached on bottom. I don't know if you could take a look at them.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't see those. Ooh. Wow.
So this is one of them. I have the rest concepted in the second one.
Those are fun. I can tell already you're going to be one of those students where you submit your homework and I'm like, this is really good. Don't change anything. This is really cool. I'd say if I'm giving critique, if you want it like right one, it's a little busy in here. Like I don't exactly know.
Yeah. Need more areas of rest, right?
Yeah, and also thinking about like how are these legs powered? Like if it's just attached by a little joint here,
Mm.
it feels like it needs like a stronger attachment point.
Yes.
Does it feel functional, like it could actually exist right into a certain point? I love on the backpack like these. I don't know what's going on there, but I like the frequency and detail. That's something interesting that's happening there. It's almost like a flea. Is that the idea? Uh, I think this one is really fun to me because it's got just like this goofy personality to it, but it also looks like it could hurt you. Anyway, these are all really great. Let me look at this next one. Okay, wow. You're following the example I think that I was talking about with Manuel really, 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 really.
Yeah, I find it really effective because I used to suffer from like a huge flaw where I'll be concepting. I don't think about color and compass and rest beforehand. So I really think this technique was super helpful. Something about colors and how they might look in the final versions.
It's pretty good. Like if you have a hard time, I still don't think I am so bad at color that I shouldn't say that. I'm not bad at it, but it's something that is not natural for me, and
Right.
I have to struggle at it. So it's hard for me to implement it right off the bat. But I sometimes try to. It depends. I think if you can, you should. And like people always sometimes they'll ask me like, how do you color your images? I'm like, well, I just paint in color. I don't do black and white to color because I find that it just looks unnatural when you do it that way. So it's cool that you're starting off the bat with that. It really can inform a character what colors they are.
Yeah.
So,
Can I give you a render of all the characters for this one?
what's that?
Can I give you like a render for all the characters?
For your final assignment, or what do you mean?
Just for these guys, just to
Oh
explain.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I was kind of just I didn't come up with an idea of beforehand of who each one is going to be. I kind of went along, ideas popped up, and I just kept on going. The first one, he's like a First Nation Native American sniper,
Awesome.
and he's got these he's got these orbs and these balls that detect wind speeds and whatnot, and helps him adjust his shots better.
I love it.
The second one, he has a shield with a huge shield and a baton that's a rocket launcher. Oh, that's a rocket tip, and his shield has like explosive reactive armors on it, so he runs and he slams people into walls and it explodes them. The third one, the big dude with the warhead, I'm not so sure about him. He might just be a big dude with a rocket launcher. The fourth one, she's a chick. She's a baseball
Oh, baseball.
pitcher. I figure like what could be more American than like a baseball pitching astronaut? But instead of baseball, she pitches grenades, and her backpack is actually like a grenade dispenser.
Yeah, I can see that she has like an arm on the backpack, which I like.
She lost both her arms, so the backpack itself has like two mechanized arms that really help her chuck balls faster.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the fifth one,
I was actually just drawing a character that had that kind of similar. It doesn't look like this, but it's the same idea of like backpack with arms. That's really cool.
yeah. Fifth one, he's more of like a generic Soldier 76 commander dude. I gave him like a 90s handlebar mustache just because. Bottom two, dude on the right, he's a big football player. Try to emulate that. It's America. Football player. And left one, she's more of like a psychic, like a mind reader. So I want
Like Psychomantis kind of. Cool.
to
I
emulate
bet
that, like the helmet design and whatnot, give her more of a slick look.
You've never played Metal Gear Solid in your life. I can tell you've never ever played that game and don't like it at all.
Oh yeah, man, that's not like I like that game or anything.
That's what I like about it though. It has like a really cool Metal Gear Solid vibe to it, and I kind of like. I'm trying to figure out how I feel about it being over-indexed on the America thing. Like, if your game has that tone, that's awesome. It's totally great. I can see. It's kind of funny because like contextually things work or they don't work, right? So
Yeah,
they all have where you have some of them having a really strong American thing. You might want to make sure that applies to all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, like Soldier Guy could have a World War II helmet on, right? Which is sort of like the icon of the American soldier, in my opinion. Or you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, so better
something-
details.
some American theme to each of them. These are really fun though. I think that my main, like if I were to paint over these, I'd probably be focusing on like your proportions a little bit, and maybe just like, I'm not sure exactly, like getting things to feel a little more exaggerated maybe, because it feels almost like, sorry, I'm getting into the art, which I told myself I wouldn't do this, but I think like, since they're sort of, it almost feels like they're in between exaggerated and not exaggerated, I would push them a little bit more or pull back on them.
Yeah.
For my opinion. So they're really, really good start though.
Sweet.
I would. Oh, another thing, like this is the assignment today. We'll probably push this, but maybe do like, well, since you have so many, maybe just do one alternate for each of them. Try and tear down your idea completely, and say, how do I approach this character from scratch without any of the ideas I just had? Like, I know it's painful to do, but sometimes
it's really
I
fun.
do it all the time where I'm like, no, I don't see any reason to do that because I love this already.
Yeah.
And then I'll redo it, and I'm like, oh, this is way better. So and that's not every time. Sometimes your first instinct is your best instinct, but sometimes it's like sometimes I'll just get all of the generic and easy ideas out first, and then the second one is better. So that's all. Really good. Sorry I went so far into the art, but you had so much done that it was hard not to.
No problem, Steve. Thanks so
Good
much.
job. Really good.
Yeah. Awesome.
Let's see. Bennett. I don't think I read this one yet. If you want to pitch this really quick, that'd be great.
Sure, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, just kind of going for like a some kind of fighting game, dark fantasy, over the top, to the point of comical. I had this idea for, it's these factions coming together from all across this massive world to duke it out in an arena. Kind of outlined, the three big ones that have been in my head. You got your barbarians, your kind of more civilized folk, and then I was trying to think of a better name for the nature people. Maybe like combat hippies or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So kind of, I think I need to get more into what specifically each character for each of these factions would be.
Well, and since you have such a good explanation of what they are, I would say that you can do that on an individual silhouette by silhouette basis. Like each silhouette could have a slightly different story, right? And that's the other thing.
Right.
Like their stories, I hope that you guys keep them somewhat vague so that there's wiggle room in them, right? Like you're like, oh, maybe this guy in this silhouette has a big gun and because of some reason, but maybe that reason influences him to have a different weapon in it. You know what I'm saying? Like those traits can influence their silhouettes in different ways. They're not exactly going to be the same every time. So you have enough here where I think you could really do some fun exploration within those constructs and just be thinking of that each one has their own little story in your mind as you're drawing it. That's all.
Okay.
So this is a really fun idea. I love the idea of heavy metal, dark fantasy magic, super crazy over the top. That's we don't see enough of that. So
yeah, like Metalocalypse in video game form.
Yeah. And then we have someone's attack is that they unleash kittens that eat people.
Yeah. So many kittens though.
That orchestras in half.
Yes.
I love that show so much. Anyway.
Oh, it's
awesome. He has a supersonic scream, like the guy from Nitro who could shatter glass with his voice.
Yeah.
They put this is a cartoon we're talking about. If you're not familiar with Metalocalypse, but you should watch it. It's really, really fun. But
it's probably the best.
I like the one where the submarine trying to record on water. That was just such a weird episode.
In the deepest, darkest part of the ocean to get the darkest sound. Yeah.
And the best, my favorite song. I don't really like metal, but one of my favorite songs is "Blood Recuted." It's word blood transfuted is the best thing I've ever heard. Like,
It's so funny. There's so many little things like that. It's awesome.
and that's a good example. Like, if you guys are more interested in TV or animation character design, Metalocalypse is a really great example of having 4 very distinct characters that are all very well. Squizguard and I don't know, the two like skinny guys with the long hair are kind of similar, but they're supposed to be, I think. So
Yeah.
really good example of like 4 very distinct characters that that all have very unique personalities, and their visual representation embodies those personalities perfectly. So it's like kind of ugly on purpose in a way. It's like it's a really good show. So check that out. All right. So I'll move on to Ryan Norman. Good talking. That was fun. Oh, all right here.
How's it going?
What's up? Hang on, I'm gonna write Metalock. I don't know how to write it. Does anyone know how to spell that?
Metalopaclys. Is that right?
Hang on. I did. I was. It's on. Here we go. I just found it. Yeah, you got it already. I was trying to Google it so that I could get the right. Everyone write it now.
When in doubt, Google.
Yeah, Metalocalypse. Death Clock is the band in Metalocalypse. It's an Adult Swim cartoon, and if you've never seen Home Movies, which is the guy who made Metalocalypse before that made a cartoon called Home Movies, which is really good too.
Yeah, that was Brendan Small, right?
Yeah, he voices a lot of the characters on both of those shows. And if you guys know H. John Benjamin, you've probably heard his voice. He's like Bob from Bob's Burgers, or
And Archer.
Archer, and he kind of got. I think he got his start really on Home Movies, where he's a character called Coach McGurk, and it's amazing.
Oh shit, that was him.
Yeah, it's Coach McGurk. All right, so Ryan, are you there still? Sorry,
Yeah, I'm here.
We're gonna take a break after this, I think, like a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and I'll do some demo stuff. But
wait, you still have Jan over mine.
Did I miss Dave?
Yeah, I volunteered to go last. Remember?
After, yeah, then we'll do the break.
I have my stuff, but not in the good place in the forum. So I will give you the link after.
Did you send me? Did you send me the link? Was that you?
I will put in the chat.
Okay, cool. I'll get to that as well. So, if you guys want to start taking your break now, that's totally fine. I don't mind. So, I mean, you know, it's up to you. I'm not your mom. Hi guys, you will see some of my homework. It has been a busy week, so it's been a catch up. My 2 characters was Pointer 1, Spaceship Repairman, 2, Dwarven Beastmaster, 3, Cyborg Adventure. Those are fun titles. Looks like you've got some sketches here. I'll just flip through.
Yeah.
Like
I'll end up refining them some more as I go.
Yeah.
It's been an incredibly busy week.
Oh, no, I know how that goes. No worries. I'll probably have some, like, proportion and anatomy feedback for you on this stuff. I like that you're getting started on your silhouettes. I'd say maybe a little bit more where you don't have, like, a faction or a class thought up already. Because I can't remember what the name was, but I was saying with that other one, the faction and class and everything was sort of thought up for what that character would fit into a box, and so the personality was sort of like the last key to it. I'd say you probably need to come up with a little bit more of like the backstory or what their story is as you're thinking about these individually. That's totally fine. Like just trying to
Yeah, I will.
What is the function of this thing? How does it work? If we're talking about armor, I know a lot of the time armor is harder, but cool. I like your ref sheets here. Oh, that's interesting. Do they all fit into the same story?
No, I'd imagine they'd be science fiction and then fantasy.
Okay, totally cool. Your guys' story, your characters don't have to fit in the same story, by the way. So that's great. Yeah, I think. Yeah, just try it. Maybe flesh out those three characters a little bit more, at least like their function or something interesting about what they are.
Okay.
Cyborg adventurer, why are they a cyborg? What's their personality like, right?
All right.
And before you get drawing, it'll just help. It'll make the process easier. So, cool stuff. I think like with this stuff.
Yeah, I was just trying to quickly like come up with ideas, and then like with the astronaut, like spaceship repairman, like a few of them to the left there, trying to show like they're floating in 0G, and so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your brush that you're using is. Are you in Photoshop with this?
No, that was on my sketch pad with a brush pen.
Okay. That's what I was like, just curious. So with this stuff, I'd say just to get some happy accidents in there, you might want to try using something with opacity sensitivity if you have it on your tablet, so that you can get you can kind of inform that inside silhouette a little bit more. I rarely encourage pure silhouettes. I know that a few years ago, like that's what everyone was doing. I think that for me, they don't give enough information personally. I think they're really fun. You have a lot of really different shapes. I would say that I can't tell what's going on well enough for me to give a good judgment on some of them. So like this is interesting, like the ball with the. I'd like to see kind of what you're thinking about with that more, but the other thing is just trying to make sure that they're a little more clear, like try and punch in some negative shapes and stuff like that. I think that you've done a really good job of getting different shapes and different ideas down now. So we'll go, as you watch me demo today, I'll try and talk about some of that stuff. And again, I'll do my best to go through any silhouettes that are posted this week and try and give redline drawovers and paint overs before class so that I can get to everybody.
All right.
So
yeah, hopefully this next week I can get on it more. So
yeah, good job. It was fun.
Thanks.
I like your a lot too. Good job. So Dave.
I also, by the way, added in 3 really quick bonus ideas, just because, in addition to work, I'm taking 2 other classes, and being a masochist, I'm trying to do double the homework in all my classes. So I'll probably have to play catch up over the Thanksgiving break. But
is this Dave talking? Who is this talking? I'm sorry. Dave. Okay. That's fine. It's good to be a masochist and work really hard. Don't burn yourself out, but
they're also really quick ideas compared to that third one.
Oh man, that's so much.
That's my ref board for the. It's just a combination of reference for the first 3 ideas. The 4th idea is really quick. If you scroll down, it's just a sort of update and redesign Red Claw from the Batman animated series to reflect their nature as a Soviet super soldier. And then the 4th and, or rather the 5th and 6th ideas, it's just for shits and giggles ideas to redesign Chewbacca and Han Solo as Cheech and Chong, in Star Wars, which is basically just Cheech Marin in a Han Solo outfit and Tommy Chong in a bandolier with a bandolier belt. But you never typically see their names attached to a Star Wars parody anything. So I think now more than ever with the election, it's vastly overdue.
Yeah. Cool. Like, you got a lot of ideas going on here. If you want, you can do as many characters as you want. I just say don't over-index, right? Or don't...
Yeah, that's why the last 3 ideas are more like if I have the time, but I want to put my focus on the first 3. So the first one's, like, really simple, which is just to do, like, a Trevor Claxton-esque or Manuel Nischinger-esque sort of cyberpunk chick. So all 3 of these characters are female. The second idea is just to do a female Spartan, because I really want to nail down that Halo design language. It's a big focus for me in the class.
I can give you some tips on like the do's and don'ts of also making a Spartan, because I had to follow those rules very carefully, and it was.
And I know 3D as well, so I know that a lot of drawings were done over like ZBrush models and stuff. So I can do that if that's going to be part of that process without any problem. But the third idea was that Overwatch character, and I don't know if you took the time to read through it.
Yeah, I did.
But
So I think those are great. I think the one thing is with the third Overwatch character, and you even mentioned it. You're like, I think this hasn't been done because basically to make a Israeli character they have to have like a Star of David on there, and they the thing about games, and this is something that I don't know, it's like a reality of games is that they avoid anything religious even remotely because they don't want, like, there's always going to be some group that's mad at you either for showing it or for disrespecting it or for doing it wrong or things like that. So
yeah,
it's like it's very
this is something where I happen to be the other thing is that, and I found this to be the case even when talking with people about movies, because I've done some stuff for movies, and like I come from a place in New York that has a higher population density of Orthodox Jews than the state of Israel itself, and they would actually be mad if this weren't done. But it just becomes readily apparent to me that like a lot of people just don't know like enough about it to avoid the sensitivity issue. And since I do have that background, I figured I, try and show like this is how you do it right. But then again, you also have you have two Egyptian characters in the game, and there's very clear iconography and Arabic writing all over the place in Overwatch. So you have that, but you can't have an IDF character, which is Israeli Defense
I think it's ridiculous. Yeah, I think like that's something where, in games I've been told it's like, well, we want to have like an altar here and a shrine because we're kind of indexing on the like Catholicism. And there are games that go with like give you, I don't know, there are games that kind of go with
it's also that
it's almost like Catholicism is for some reason okay to put in games, but Judaism's not. So I'm all down with you doing this. I'm just saying, in an actual studio environment, I would say good luck to you, because there's always there's a group of lawyers or people who will shoot this stuff down, and you're like, no, we gotta listen to them, sorry. And if you did it tastefully enough, you could probably get it passed, or they might say, well, no, you can't do a Star of David.
Yeah, well, that's part of the focus, is to design that kind of character where it's not so much about the religious symbolism as it is more so the military stuff. It just sort of has some trappings of this sort of historical stuff in terms of maybe some of the shapes that are used, but it's more of a focus on Israel has the most technologically advanced air force in the face of the planet, and the Star of David would only be there insofar as it is on the IDF logo for their military, not because Israel is surprisingly not nearly as religious as the rest of the world makes it out to be. But I've also found working in movies, because I've argued with all the World War II movies we have, like Fury and everything, a great movie that's a shoo-in for an Oscar would be the story of the Birkenau Revolt, where it was a small group of Polish Jews who were inmates in the Auschwitz camp actually started this big revolt that blew up two of the 4 crematoriums and blew a big hole in the wall. It's actually the chronological prequel to the events of Black Forest starring Daniel Craig. It's how the Jews were able to flee Auschwitz and get into the Black Forest, and it's a big action-packed sort of, it's like in 1944 we fought back. And yet the thing is that I found that there are a lot of money people who are in the entertainment industry who are Jews, but it's like a lot of the creative people, including creative directors, aren't, and they sort of get sensitive on the behalf of people who would actually vehemently disagree with them and pay through the nose to see that movie, but they themselves sort of get sensitive on their behalf and shoot it down, and it's like, I represent these people and I know what they'd love to see, so that's why I'm trying to I'm a very business-oriented concept artist, so I don't just design for the sake of creativity. I really try and focus on designing for making money and being marketable. So a big focus of this character and how I would like for you to help me on the design end would be to emphasize more of the military focus and maybe some of the interesting shapes with any sort of religious implications being minimized. So that's what I'd really love for her to be.
it's almost like coincident. It's not coincidental. There's a huge history there, but like the fact that the Star of David is like on their flag and stuff. It's hard. You know, it's a national thing. It's not really a religious thing. And I don't know why there's that mandate societally that we avoid all religious. I think it's basically the fear of offending people. But
well, there's plenty of religious iconography that winds up on flags in video games too. It's just it almost seems specifically geared towards the Jews. It's like we don't want to offend Jews, and I'm like, well, or it's not that we don't want to offend Jews. It's like you can't have anything Israeli in a game, and because you might offend somebody. And I'm like, who are you afraid of offending? Anti-Semites? It's like I'm fine with offending those people. I don't care if some neo-Nazi wants to get upset because Israel is in a Call of Duty game or something like that. I'm like, well, I mean, there are certain parties that I don't mind offending in those situations because their offense really isn't worth pandering to.
I agree with that. I think that that's a really fun idea, and I think you'll probably get some positive attention from it when you post it and stuff. I'm excited to see what you do. So I think that it's actually cool that you're going to do this because I think it could help get that attention out there, and it could almost be like a...
Well, I'd also like if you can help me to make the presentation and the execution on this as professional as possible, not just to design this for my own edification, but because I know John Polidoro, who is the art director, one of the art directors on Overwatch, and he's also from New York, incidentally from nearby where I'm from. So I really want to try and push this directly to him as a potential legitimate concept art for the game. So everything that needs to be in there, like what you were showing with the Sombra art, that stuff I'd like you to push me on. And I do want you to push me on this, if you can, to get all of this as professionally done as possible.
I will push you if you'd like me to. It's always hard because I'm like, I don't know these people's backgrounds and like how nitty-gritty I should get, but I will get nitty-gritty with you if you'd like.
Oh, I'm a New Yorker. I just live here in LA, so I prefer direct feedback over sensitive feedback.
And when people have been doing it for a while and their art is kind of more hot, you can tell they've been doing art for a while and their art's really good. That's where it's like, okay, here's where I would critique you like I would a concept artist at work, right? So
that's what I want.
Cool. All right, sounds good. I think that those all sound really fun. I'm excited to see your Spartan too. I like seeing new Spartans.
Yeah, speaking of, I'm not exactly sure how one would go about thumbnailing this Spartan.
Don't worry about it.
I can ask you about that later.
I'll go straight into sketching with that. I didn't thumbnail Spartans. I would just, back when we were considering doing different silhouettes, but right now I would say I showed those Trevor Claxton thumbnails, like how he has information in there. It's like he's just sketching with a big fat brush. That's kind of how I might suggest starting off, just to get some shapes and then draw over it. So for that one, I wouldn't worry too much about silhouettes. Like Spartans already have a silhouette, and they're all
okay. I don't know enough about the design language, though, so I have a lot of questions for you about that, and I'll save that for another, you and I can talk about that later, I guess.
I'll let you know. Just hit me up however you want, and we can talk about it.
Sweet.
And then I think, good job. Let's see, where did you put it in the, wait, what is this? Is this the thing?
What? Oh, that's right.
Sorry. I had someone. I was going to move on to someone else. So I think, good job, and hit me up, and we'll talk about what to do with the Spartan. And
awesome.
I have. So good job. Thanks. Let's see here. Who is this? It doesn't have a name. Oh, Anson Tan. Tan. That name sounds familiar. Max Male Human wears a mech robot suit, fights at the Galactic God, trade battles for money. Cool. I think you definitely know kind of what you want here. You're very clear with the reference you've chosen just as you're drawing those individual silhouettes, try and really think about the decisions those characters would make and why they would wear what they would wear, why they're shaped the way they're shaped, obviously, as I've told everybody a million times. But that applies to everybody, even if you had a perfect pitch and stuff. What is that? That's amazing. I need to know what this is. If anyone can tell me.
Oh yeah, that's a custom-made Gundam.
So cool.
Yeah.
Can you give me a link to that if you know where it is?
Yeah, I've seen it on Pinterest somewhere. I'll see. I'll send it to you if I find it again. Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a really good. That's kind of an interesting way you formatted it, but it really sells it well. I have no mistake about what you're going to try and make there. So, good job. And here was a link here. Wait, where is the link that I was supposed to be looking at? Oh, okay, here we go. Raymond? Sorry, I said your name wrong.
Yeah, Remy.
Yeah. Oh, you've already got a bunch of drawings. Are these like your sketch pages or your thumbs?
Yeah. Yeah, I missed a bit of the exercise because I didn't know that the story was the main idea of the assignment. So
totally fine, because you know what, you're exploring visually instead of just with words here. These are some really cool ideas, like this 25 guys. I like the sword and stuff. Cyborg guy, soldier, security guy, some kind of alien. Maybe it's a nice guy. Dark Soulish Curse Knight with a big sword. Yeah, that's honestly, and like, I know I'm pushing you guys to come up with more off the bat. That's just to make your lives easier later. I often have an idea that's very similar to this, like, or you know, I'll write down an idea that's basically like Dark Soulish Curse Knight with a big sword because I have an idea in my head about what that is. The problem with that, though, is that I'll go look at my list later and go, well, I don't know what my idea was at the time, but I have nothing in my head now for it. So in this exercise where I'm trying to get you guys to just write down at least like a brief descriptor of a character that you can write down later and write down in your list so that you always have a bank of these to pull from. Just maybe give us a little bit more information for it, so and you'll thank yourself later on in life when you have a whole list of ideas to draw. These are cool. I think you have some really interesting ideas. Like I said, I'm not going to go over art completely because I want to be able to look at it the week ahead so that I have notes and stuff to say so that we can get through everything. But I think you're off to a good start. I'd say right now, I'd like to, with pure drawings, it's hard to tell the shape as much. I'd like to see...
this one was more for studies. So, but if you go to the last post, you have all my.
Oh, there you go.
All my ID. It's more my ID right now. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see. Yeah, this is definitely. I can see you've been developing further. So I'd say I'd give you the same advice. Ooh, this is cool. Hang on a second. I don't know, number 29. Something's pretty awesome with that. Like, you're gonna have to make sure it doesn't look like too much like a xenomorph, but that helmet's got a really cool thing going on. Sorry, I caught my eye. Also, 22 is a really nice design as far as like a general feel to it. I'd say the same thing. I don't know who I told earlier, but maybe take each of your ideas and start over on them and try and come up with a completely new idea with the same, the same story or same character description, and start from scratch and see if you make any different decisions, right? Like, see if you can think about it in a totally different way, and then maybe you can pull things to combine, or maybe you'll change your mind completely. So these are really cool, though. I think you have a lot of really interesting ideas. I would pull back the detail a little bit and try and make sure you have like, the reason this works so well for me is because the parts that I'm looking at are well defined. Like, I can see different individual parts of it, whereas if I look at, oh, I don't know, that scratch that. I think you're doing a good job. Where I would give you advice is more in like the flow of stuff within the character. Like, how do we make sure that there's I'm sorry, I've been talking for an hour and a half. My brain's about to explode. Like a good flow through the character, and how do we arrange shapes so that we get a really clear read? I think that that's the main issue here, is just busyness and like competing shapes and competing lines, where it almost, when you squint at it, when I squint at it, I can definitely see a bit more of what it is, but when I see all those little micro lines in there, it's hard to tell exactly what's going on. So just a more clear intent of shape, I guess, is what I'm saying. But that, again, like, I'll give that feedback over the week. I think that you something really, really cool going here. So, yeah. Basically, I'd like to know more. I just say, like, I'd like to know more off the bat, like, what they are. Think about their function in a game. That's the other thing. Like, what do they do in a game? And I could see that you've been thinking about with some of these for sure. So, good job. And yeah, I'm really excited about what I've seen today from everybody's work. If I'm gonna move on, I'm gonna have everybody take a break, and then I'll come back and demo for like an hour. But come back in like 5 to 10 minutes and stretch your legs, go to the restroom, get a drink, whatever you need to do. If anyone has any questions, let me know.
We ended 1, right? So
what?
we have an hour and 15 minutes, so we have a little longer than an hour.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries. I usually try and fill up the 3 hours. The website says 2 to 3 hours, but I don't know. I figured it usually is hard to cut off before 3 hours. Getting it within 3 hours is hard enough. So, yeah, take a break, and we'll be going until 1 o'clock my time, and I don't know what time that is for you. But cool. See you guys in let's see, 10 minutes. So at 8 before the hour. Was there a question?
Yeah, Corey, I was gonna ask, what's the best way to message you outside of the class?
It depends. It depends on what it is. If it's like, hey, can I get feedback on this? Travis has requested that you put it on your forum thread.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a more immediate thing where you're like, hey, I need advice right now, then you can hit me up on Facebook and say, please check out my thread in the forum and give me a link or something like that. Or you can, if it's just a simple question, Facebook's fine. You can just ask me. If it's something where other people can benefit, Travis has said, please use the forum. Like, Corey, what do you think about, like, I don't know, about this principle of design, right? Like, and you'd probably want to ask that on the forum and then let me know so that other people can see, if that makes sense.
Facebook meaning that on your message?
Messages, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or I can give my email if you guys. I know Travis said not to email, but if it's like an emergency, you really need to get a hold of me. If you don't have Facebook, then that's fine.
Probably don't want to email. Don't want to flood your inbox.
Cool. Facebook messages is the best way. I will see it for sure, and whereas email I might not. So
that's cool.
Yeah, if that's okay.
So I just add you as a friend on Facebook, right? I don't.
Yeah, and I public. You should be able to message me regardless of if you're my friend or not, too.
Cool.
I don't always add people because I get a lot of requests, so I don't always know who is who and who's a student or not. So
cool.
All right. So let's break for actually 6 before the hour. So why don't we just go 5 minutes before? That's when we meet back here. So 11-minute break. Good job, guys. Again, really, really good stuff. I'm very excited to see what you guys do.
Yeah, guys. By the way, if you're still pending approval on the forums, Sean just said to write to him, but you could also write directly to Travis. His either through the forums, if you send him a private message, excuse me, private message, he should get it because he's on the forums all the time making fixes and things like that. Or you can write to him through Facebook, and he'll usually get it on his phone and put it on his to-do list. So he's pretty quick about that if you need access.
Thanks, Dave.
No problem, mine. I would add you guys myself, but I don't have my moderator privileges don't extend into the class portion of the forums yet. They're supposed to, but for some reason, Travis is making changes and stuff. Like my staff member banner isn't there right now because he's actually making new banners, and he said he'll try and get to it this weekend. But things have been just really busy because he's always running all over the place. And something went wrong with all of the moderator permissions, so anyone who's listed as staff member instead of administrator, or anyone who has moderator privileges but doesn't have the staff member banner, for whatever reason, we don't have access to moderator privileges in the class forum. So I'm really sorry about that. I would help if I could. Ryan was writing to me privately asking me to add you guys, and I was just like, I would if I could, but for whatever reason, until Travis makes the adjustment, I don't have the authorization to do that.
Okay. Waiting to Travis.
Sadly, yes. Hey guys, this is Travis. How you doing? Anybody can turn your mic on if you want.
What's up, dude? Morning.
Hey,
how you doing?
Good. My whole house is sick here. The flu is going around here in LA, so it's vomiting left and right. It's like a fucking.
Dude, tell me about it. Everyone at Noman is just bloated, man.
Oh, really? That sucks, man. It goes around fast there too, man.
Oh shit!
You all go down. So really quickly, I got about 6 or 7 of you saying that you're having trouble getting access, so I wanted to jump on and make sure to help you out really quickly to get you guys all set up. So all of you are pre-registered with your email that you purchased a ticket with and the name you purchased your ticket with. So if your email, your name is different, and you signed up, I don't get a message. The other issue, I just wanted to make sure and walk you guys through. Let me actually take over here and switch screens. Hold on one second, guys. Where is my name in the list here? My name is not showing up unless it's waiting for name. All right, since I can't take over the screen because Ryan and Corey are for some reason. If you guys go to class and then click on the Corey Hubble picture and you go to the forums, you get the first page. There should be a gray button there that says submit or join group. Hey, are you there?
Sorry, we're on a break right now. Sorry, I didn't know.
No.
I just heard you talk.
No, you're fine. I got a couple of people having trouble getting registered on the forum, so I want to make sure everybody knows how. So the people that are here, I'll show those guys how real quick while you're on break. Can you?
Do I need to give you power over the screen or something? Or?
Yeah. Can you just click on my name? I don't see my name in the list for some reason. Maybe I'm waiting for name. Is that me?
Hey, Travis, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're under artist, do it better. You're all the way on top right now, so you are the organizer.
I am. Okay.
Oh, artist do it better. Okay. And I will make presenter.
Yeah, I should. I'd like to change my name.
You just right click. You right click on the name, and then I don't remember what you do. It's not.
All right, cool. 1 second here. Let me.
Yeah, right click and then edit your name and email.
Okay, I'm cool. All right. So I just approved a couple of you by typing your name in and searching for you. It didn't send a note. But if you guys go to the top and you click on class, it'll take you to this page. For those of you that haven't done this yet, go to Corey's picture, click on that. It'll take you to class forum. If you haven't been registered, you won't see these links here. Just go down to the bottom and there'll be a gray button down here that says join group. So if there's anybody left that hasn't done that yet and you're having trouble reaching the forum, that's going to be why. If you have done that and you haven't been approved, then just send me a message. Either send me a private message on there or send me a message to my regular email, producer.travis@gmail.com, and I'll get you linked up pretty fast. The only reason I wouldn't get a message from you, like I said, is if your email or your username doesn't match with the email and name that you use to buy your ticket. So everybody should have access right now that I know of that's clicked that join group. We do have some students that haven't joined yet. Some of you guys haven't joined yet, but you have to come here, even if you're already pre-registered the first time, and click that gray button. I'm here for registration. I think my name is slightly different. Yeah, so if your name is just different, it's not a problem. Just send me an email and let me know, or message me, let me know. Is there anybody here yet that still is waiting for approval? Shane or Sean? Okay. And just type in your name over here. Anybody that's still waiting, type your name in the chat. And when Corey comes back from break here, or while he's coming back from break, then I'll go ahead and go through and approve everybody. Also, somebody said they having trouble finding that folder for the class week 1 homework. If you click on class forum, once you're registered, once you're signed up, you should see it right here. So this is week 1. So it looks like most of you are having a pretty good time. Wow, Corey, everybody's turned into homework in your class. I don't know if you're still around or not, but good job. I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
I'm like, oh man, it's time outside class with this.
This is good to see, though, man. I mean, you know, typically half the students of classes don't turn their homework in, and so this is nice to see. Good job, students, man, getting your stuff done.
And really good story ideas, really good thought process. There is some thought power put into these characters, I think, already. I'm pretty happy with the results. So.
Yeah, some stuff. I'm just cruising through, just looking at the thumbnails. There's some, like, I don't know if these are reference or if people are.
I think. But.
Yeah. All right, cool. Just one quick comment. I don't want to interrupt class for too long. I added a few new features. Some of them are goofy and playful, and some of them are useful. This is our smiley list. Right now, they're all nice smileys. I will be adding some mean smileys that say "focus on foundation." To look at your perspective, they're basically nags smileys. This is a thick-skinned forum, so it's nice to have playful, fun ones, but I also have ones that talk about look at color theory, all those type of things. Also, we added comments and to reply, so that when threads get really long, if you just have a quick comment like, wow, nice, or I really like what you did there, or hey, where'd you get that reference? If it's 1 or 2 sentences, just click on comment, and you can comment directly on the forum post. And if it's a long reply, click on reply.
That's cool. So you don't have to make a whole.
Yeah, and I also added a Facebook feed for you guys too, so that makes it even easier, especially for like the instructors, Corey, for you. I'll show you that real quick as well.
All right.
Dude, you should have like a face that says GG.
Yeah? What's that for?
Yeah. It's like get good. Get good.
Oh, okay.
What? GG means good game, I thought. What the?
No, not so much.
Yeah. Sorry, as I mentioned, I'm sick, so I'm a little bit slower than usual.
No worries.
All right. So up at the top, if you click feed, feed will now take you to, you have to follow people for this work, because I already know that I'm going to get about 5 messages that say, when I click on feed, I don't see anything. So in order to see anything on this page, you need to be following people. So as you go through and follow people, if you click on Cody, there's a huge button that says follow, unfollow right here. So I added that button and I made it really fucking big for that purpose, because I know these forums can be confusing. And then once you follow people, they pop up into your feed. So any posts that they post, and only their posts, will show up in here. In the next day or two, you'll be able to actually comment and reply right here. So this actually works exactly like your Facebook, so it makes life really fucking simple. I do hope that if you do this feed, you still jump in and join and give other people critique and use the forum in a way where you're still giving back and contributing, uploading music, commenting on people's work. But this is a quick way for those of you that are busy, and especially for our instructors, to be able to jump in and see your work. So Corey, you probably want to follow everybody in your class, and then you can go here for that feed. And then there is one more thing that I wanted to show you. Of course, everybody knows that any new post on the site goes onto the front page. So this is just in general for any new plug that goes in. But I'm going to jump off here and give the power back to you, man. Thanks for letting me jump in and help everybody. And I'm going to watch a recording of this class here at some point tomorrow. But let me know if you have any trouble, guys. I'm going to go through there right now and click up, and I'm going to keep this window open for the recording so that I can see if you guys need anything along the way. But it looks like everybody's doing a great job. Great job, Corey, with the class. The first class was great. All right, have a good one, guys.
Yeah, and just give control back to me there if you don't mind.
Yeah. Just right click on your monitor.
Oh.
And yeah, there you go. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Have a good one, Corey. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you soon. No problem. Take care.
Yep. Okay. So, if I didn't get to you with feedback, and this may be the case, hopefully it's not like if we're going through this class and you feel like you're constantly getting the shaft and you're not getting in-class feedback, let me know. Or if it's like important to you that you really get your feedback in class and not on the forum, let me know. But I'm going to try to do. It's just going to at least in the beginning of this class where we have like 20 things to go through. Like we could spend 3 hours on feedback. So some of it will just have to be split up. And I've considered maybe doing like, if you don't mind getting your feedback in forum, throw it in the forum and just like write that before you post anything. Like at the top of your post, just say feedback. Feedback in forum is okay, and that way I'll know that I can just write there and give you paint over there, and then we'll save some time in class. And I'm going to try and hit that stuff up as close to as possible as when it's posted. So, yeah. If you guys want to see more demo, put your stuff up in the forum, and I'll do that. At the same time, I do want to do maybe like an hour of feedback in class because I'm, outside of class, I'm not going to have as much time to do all of them. So it's kind of like we got to balance that out. But if I don't get it to it on the forum, I'll try to get to it in class. Hope that makes sense. If I miss it in both times, I'll do it after class, hopefully that day. So anyway, that does make sense. Let me know. So we had talked about this guy who he uses, I don't know, I haven't really picked a silhouette yet, but he has some kind of mechanism that he's pulling off these space barnacles that exist in this system, and he just lives and works at a spaceport. I've decided he's sort of a sad fellow. He doesn't really have anybody in his life. But he's a nice guy, and he really doesn't love his job. He doesn't mind his job. He's used to it. And that's just kind of his life, right? He's like the butcher who's been at the butcher shop for 50 years, or 20 years, and that's just what they do, and they don't particularly enjoy it, but, he's kind of easygoing guy. You're already getting bummed? Nathan, hey Nathan, if you had, I don't know if I saw a message saying something crashed for you, by the way. Go ahead and just put it up on the forum when you can, and I'll get to it. And if you notice that I haven't, if it's like we went the whole week and I'm getting back onto the forum stuff. If we went a whole week and like the week before class, I didn't say anything in your assignment, and in class I missed your assignment, please let me know, because I have a huge list of people and it's hard for me to keep track exactly of who I gave feedback to and who I didn't. So keep that in mind. Just let me know if I have neglected you. So, yeah, he's kind of just like, whatever. And then I have my other character. Well, that one, I haven't really thought about it as much for his sidekick, but there's also like a little, kind of a smaller alien, not smaller necessarily, but just a different shape, maybe like a thinner alien, who is the partner. It's like, he's like a young buck. He's the intern on the skiff. And what his job is to do whenever a barnacle survives, he has to go chase it down and kill it, because they also sell these for meat, and they sell the shells for stuff, so it's kind of like a dual income thing. They get paid to pull them off of ships, but they also sell them. So that one's job is to chase it down, kill it, put it in the bucket. And that he's kind of like a cocky guy. He's just there to earn some money for space school, for space college. I don't know. I haven't thought about these as much. I feel bad because like I haven't even thought about these characters as much as I'm encouraging you guys to. And then, but he's sort of he's a good person, but he's not exactly. He considers himself heroic, but he's not exactly competent. And then our third character is, how do I explain this? So I've thought the most about this one as far as physiology goes. And this one, it comes from a species of alien that grew up in one pod of a kind of a space whale creature, for lack of better words. And they call him Germ. Yep, wait, he has 1337666 Germ KDR. So it's funny that you call it a Germ, because this guy's actually, his name is actually Germ, this third character, and this is kind of like the inciting incident is when these two fellows meet this third character. And third character is a bounty hunter, and his species grew up, or evolved inside of this one pod of space whales. They do go between space whales eventually, but they started off in just one, and they're an actual organism it's like, compared to the space whale, they're like a amoeba or parasite. And they maybe a little bigger than that compared to like what would be in a human, but they've evolved to live only inside this whale. So they require certain nutrients and chemicals that are only produced inside this whale, which is a very rare whale. And they live. At first they were kind of primitive, and they just lived off of the certain organs. They would kind of harvest, and then they eventually started becoming more intelligent, and to the point where their technology was advanced enough. They're using minerals and stuff that this whale's eating and finding stuff without damaging the whale. They had to eventually find a way to not damage these whales to the point where they would die, right? Because then it's like kind of like global warming right now. We've allowed our Earth has given us technology, but the technology has been killing the Earth. It's the same way, like the whale is in danger. So anyway, long story short, when they leave the whales, they have to have with them like a backpack containing organs and cells from the whales, because I think it was a more immediate danger for them because they might be mining and then suddenly the whole world starts shaking, right? Oh, we do that with fracking. Never mind. So anyway, I won't get political on you guys. Anyway, they have to carry around with them, like the ones that have left, and they are very intelligent and became a spacefaring race. They colonized their whole pod of whales and then into another pod of whales, because the solar system that they're from, the whole solar system's filled with this kind of space whale. And so like they never had a planet. They just live inside these whales, and the whales live for like millennia. So or maybe actually they probably have to live longer than that, right? Anyway, he had the point being that he has to carry. He's like a little flea bug looking kind of germ, and carries around whale organs or like chunks of whale organ and big cells on his back, because he literally requires those nutrients to survive, because they just evolved floating in that stuff and absorbing it. So he has like an EVA suit that has these big things on its back. So that's going to be kind of fun to explore. That was a long explanation. Anyway, I'll get drawing. I'm sure you're sick and tired of hearing me talk. I kind of went on that guy for a little while. I'm gonna move off of this. I'm gonna go back to it, but for right now, I'm gonna move away because I kind of got my first inclination down. I'm not gonna say those were especially wonderful or anything, but so off the top of my head, excuse me. So one of the main things I think about when I'm doing silhouettes is like balance. If you have something big on the back, they need to feel like they're not falling over, right? Or you need to put like something that's a counterweight, right? You don't want to have it completely falling over.
Does your eraser also have pen pressure on it, or is it just perfectly opaque? Oh, it does? Okay, so you're just pushing hard.
Yeah, I just push hard. So I'm designing little germ. By the way, his backstory is that he's a bounty hunter, but the stuff that he has to carry around with him is pretty expensive, so he's like kind of miserly and cheap, and he's a selfish dude. The species doesn't like particularly favor kindness. they're not evil or anything, but I think of kind of like Lilo and Stitch. I think of Stitch a little bit. They're very cunning, very intelligent creatures, but they're sort of like Ferengi, where they're very shrewd. Like they like money and they don't want to. They're kind of selfish. So the idea is that this little bug dude kind of I think one of them a girl, probably a female. Maybe this. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think this guy's he's more of like I say he, but it's probably more of an asexual being. There's no real gender among them. I think the assistant, who is probably our hero, like our hero is the. I'm starting off with the less heroic ones, but they might all. I don't know. I haven't thought this out as well as I had asked you guys to. I just realized. But I'm thinking that they all just play a different part and they work together and kind of learn to. The inciting incident is that this guy was hired to find like a precious jewel or pearl or something like that, and he has it in his ship, and then one of these pesky he kind of like didn't heed the warnings of the people in the all of the advisories, and it's hard to draw and talk from you guys. He didn't pay attention, and one of these barnacle things bore through his hull and actually ate this thing that he was transporting. Like one of them kind of got in, and so when he finds this thing, in his ship, he doesn't realize he's at port, and he like stumbles on it. He doesn't realize that it has eaten the precious thing that he was supposed to collect. And so he just like basically kind of shoots it, and then he calls the people to come and take care of his ship, like the barnacle cleaners. He calls them to kind of come and clean the barnacles off, clean up this dead corpse of a thing that I killed in my ship. And so they show up and they clean off the ship, and then they come inside and they're like picking up this thing for removal when suddenly they get attacked by the people that he stole the item from. And so he just takes off with these two guys on his ship. And so these people who've lived like on a weird little spaceport their whole lives get kind of pulled into this intergalactic conflict where people are fighting over this thing. And it's a little bit, I guess, off the top of my head, since I haven't put much effort into making it super unique, it sounds almost like Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that, right? Where someone gets pulled into having a device. But the actual overarching story isn't really important for what I'm doing here. I'm thinking more about the characters themselves. Firefly, yeah. Anyway, so
Alright, can I jump in with a quick question?
Sure.
So, how are you thinking about the values you're putting down? Do you have a light source in mind, or is it just like whatever?
No. It's more about value of, it's about separating out shapes. So like, I'm doing light shoulders here with dark underneath, but that may not be the case when I actually go to my full concept or my drawing, right? Like, I'm just trying to separate out shapes. That's really all I'm thinking about. Like, how do I put something in there to make sure without putting a line, right? Because a line is just saying, this is a different value and texture and object, right? Like when you're drawing. So it's sort of like drawing with shapes without thinking about light much at all. You can think about light in these if you want. There's no rule against that, but I'm not right now.
Cool, thanks.
When you're doing these, do you think about function, like if this is for a game, or is that stuff you don't think about until later when the shape is figured out, and now you need to resolve those design decisions?
I'm thinking vaguely of it being like it's going to be in a game. And just so you guys know, I don't want you guys to worry too much about technical constraints with this, right? That's something that you should be aware of as you get into this industry, is that you will try to draw things and then you will have people saying, no, we can't do that all the time. It's like constant. Or saying, no, that's not possible. Yes, it is something to think about. Like, you don't want to try and make something that you do want to kind of try and think about what's impossible and what's not impossible. Knowing how things are built is really important. But for now, I would just, especially on silhouettes, just focus on the design. Like, don't worry too much about constraints. Because every company has different constraints, and those as they come up, I might bring up things things I have heard, or things you might experience with that. But I'm thinking a little bit about game function at this point, but I haven't really decided on this guy yet exactly what he would do. I think he would be just sort of like a run and gun kind of thing. Like he'd be more of like a he'd have a knife, and he would also have sort of like a medium range auto.
So, excuse me. So if he had, so while you're doing this, like if there are any little parts that need to move and animate, you're not thinking about that now. You're just thinking about the general shape, and when you get into the line drawing, like that's when you save it for.
Parts moving and animating, definitely I'm thinking about. At least with this character, they're not as relevant. At least right now, when I'm drawing specifically, the next silhouette, I might think about it more. But like for instance, if we go back and look at this one, I was thinking much more about how are they getting those barnacles off, right? Like I gave him this claw that's pulling off the barnacle with a butcher knife in the other hand to hit it, or this thing, which half the silhouette is this big stupid gun thing.
But I mean, like the specifics of, like, for example, the joint on that foot that you did last class. You don't have to get into that now. I'm just wondering in terms of
like specific mechanical function.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't worry about that yet. Like for a robot arm, you could just do a joint. Like it's the more of the silhouette of the thing and what you want to try and fit into that silhouette. Like you can draw that, right, and then later on you can go in and sorry, I didn't quite understand your question. Go in and then figure out all those little
communicating the question well.
All those parts. That's internal detail. I wouldn't worry about that yet. Think big shapes. What are your big shapes right now? Don't worry about little details or nitty-gritties. That's the biggest problem I have actually, is getting carried away, because I'll see something and I'll just go in and start drawing without actually thinking it through. How did I get drawing on this guy? What happened here? See? This is what I'm talking about. Okay, go back. Okay. So, and what I'll do is I'll kind of do like an initial idea, and then I'll start a new one, and then try and do something completely different, or at least somewhat different, and then I'll go back across all of them and try and do a second pass of the same one, just in my little session, right? And I don't have any reference up, but if I were, I'd probably have up like amoebas or fleas or parasites or things like that. I'm not thinking too much about the details of the tech or the type of tech right now. It's more about shape of the whole body, right? Which is, I guess, is kind of what you're asking. Maybe there's like a... That's another reason I like you to at least add a little bit of internal detail, is so that we can see what's going on if you have the arms or legs cross in front of the body or whatever. Because Otherwise, that stuff gets lost, right? And I'm kind of being really rough right now, and I'll go back and refine a little bit and kind of figure out what my shapes are here. Another thing is, like, as you do this, think in, if you can, think down to like circles, triangles, rectangles and squares. These are really weird because I'm using a hard round, but I kind of like that. You can use a different brush if you want a different shape. Like sometimes, like I told you, I use a triangle brush, which gives me more angular looking stuff. But this guy feels more like a round character to me, so I'm using a hard round. And what that'll do is it'll, like when I'm drawing a joint or something, that whole elbow's round. Where if I were using a triangle brush, it would be pokier. And I can still make that pokey by drawing. I paint it in and then erase it. But right now I'm not focusing on that super like a ton. So anyway, try to think of composing out of this kind of stuff, or you can go like this, or you know. But think of, if I take this shape, I can take this shape. Oh my goodness. And I can combine it with this shape, and then we get new stuff. So if you think about 2 or 3 shapes that you're repeating over and over, you know, I'm just randomly adding these shapes on. I'm not thinking about it, but like you see how there's kind of, you get these echoes, and this is called repetition. So you want to repeat and echo yourself. If you pick certain shapes, you want to put those throughout the body. And there's kind of a right and a wrong way to do that. Like you want to definitely follow a rhythm. For instance, if I have, here we go. Like if I do circles here, I want to have them different than I do a circle here. I kind of want those to feel like different sizes, right? And I want to, we talked about like dot, dot, dash, right? You can group these two together, have a rest or a space, and then another one. So, you know, that's more interesting than if I were to just go, oh, I was drawing over my silhouette. Like this, like this, like this. Imagine I'm just doing internal shapes right now, right? So taking that shape or that theme or that idea and varying it throughout your character, and people will pick up on that. It'll make it feel cohesive, and so they go, oh, I can. Sometimes it's subconscious, right? But it unifies the character as a whole. Think about Boba Fett. Boba Fett has really similar shapes all across, and there's echoes of certain things, or like Darth Vader, or any really iconic character you can think of. So. Okay, back to this.
Sorry, can the shapes be
Go for it.
anything?
What's that?
Like you had a square, circle, and triangle,
Oh.
and then you did like just like a wiggly shape. So can
Yeah,
the shapes
neat.
be anything as long as you
Yeah.
echo them through the design?
Sure. And sometimes you don't want to echo it, but like usually even subtly, right? You just want to have a general feel, and that will make it. Unless, like, let's say your character has collected armor from 5 different civilizations and wears them all. That would look kind of weird, but that would be the reason why you wouldn't, right? But if I have let's say I have like a helmet that is shaped like this. I'll just draw a little quick helmet or something. Let me just... Actually, that could be a cool helmet for my guy for the next silhouette. And and then it has little triangle ears. And the body, I might want to echo a little bit of that, right? So you get this kind of, these are friends, and your eye will pick up on that. Now this is a principle that's not just shape, it's color. It goes to angles, like if you're drawing a gun. This is a bad example of a gun, but I'm just going to draw one really quick. Like, let's just pretend that's a really cool looking gun. But you would want to have like a couple angles that are friends, and then repeated over here. And there's like one main angle that you see repeated throughout that gun, and then maybe you have one counter angle over here, and then there's one right there against it. And already I'm starting to feel like, oh, there's something cool with this gun, right? You're echoing, maybe that counter angle is like that. So
is that sketch you did of the helmet? Is that what you were talking about when you were mentioning what to do for the Halo designs? Because someone else is also doing Halo, I think, also.
Yeah, absolutely with Halo.
So, and it looks like you're just drawing like the shapes and sort of extending it down into the rest of the figure. But when you're working off of like a humanoid body type, like the Spartans, would you recommend going straight into it like that, or putting down like a silhouette for a human figure first and then drawing over the top?
I'd put a human. I would make like a paper doll, as we call it. This is how we always. You can either do a 3/4 paper doll, which is just like the body that you're drawing over, right? You might want to use like a ZBrush model, or I could maybe even get you the one that we used at 343. But I would want you to draw your own under our suit. So like I would start with a human body and then just work down it. Like, you're not worrying too much about the human body at all with a Spartan. It's just armor, right? There's a big difference between character design and armor design. Armor design is typically designed without much thought as to the individual wearing it, as to the story of the armor. Like, what's the culture behind that armor, or who made it, why, all that stuff. The armor itself is almost the character.
What does the paper doll look
What's
like?
that?
You started this paper doll, but then you erased it. I was curious what the paper doll looks like. Just because as someone else is also doing it in the class, otherwise I'd ask privately.
I'll find it. 1 second here. When I say paper doll, it's a human figure, an orthographic human figure. Hang on. Well, I might have to find that. Let's see.
Well, I was wondering, is it something that you yourself draw, or is it like a pre-made thing that you just...
They had a... It was designed, like, I remember on Halo 4, Gabo was designing it, and he was just doing drawings and sending those, and they were doing ZBrush, and then he would draw over it and go back and forth. And at one point we had like longer arms, and then we had to. What it came down to was they actually scanned a human being and then just put the under suit over him with 3D. So like they sculpted it on top of his actual body, but they had to make sure it was really, really close to the skin, otherwise it would get too bulky. So. I don't know why I can't find it.
I also heard that because in the very first Halo he had the sort of like underwear style crotch plating, and then it was removed in I think 4 and beyond because of stretching in the polygons or something, and that's why you see basically the under armor has color like on the abs going towards the pelvis.
Yeah, I think the main reason was that the art director just didn't like the Spartan diaper. That's what I would say. But hang on, I think.
Yeah, it was. That.
So this is what
getting rid of everyone's diapers, man. Superman lost his. Jimmy lost. What is this, man?
Getting rid of all the external underwear.
Dude,
was it? I don't know. I feelings.
When I worked at Experis and we were testing Master Chief Collection and Halo Anniversary, we always joked about the COD piece getting bigger every iteration of the game.
He has this giant diaper, and it's like, I think it was an animation thing, and a lot of fans were really upset about it, though. So now they have a butt plate, and then the color of the armor goes down, so it still feels like this part has a light color. I wouldn't have minded if there was just a COD piece, but I don't know how I felt about there actually being a big, chastity belt. Sci-fi chastity belt is what it looked like. So let's see. I think this was. I did the. I worked
also
with,
a lot of
this is a design of the Mjolnir Mark VI. So this is kind of what we would work over. And they made a new one for Halo 5. This is from Halo 4, but pretty similar. You can see where there were like attachment points where we kind of tried to keep them, make it feel like they were attaching almost. We had to make sure armors cleared each other, and I can go over the specifics with you in your, like when I give feedback or whatever. But like flipping and stuff is an issue. Go ahead.
I was just wondering about, because I never heard the term paper doll before, and I guess some of the other classmates are also doing like armored sci-fi characters. So if we had to make our own paper dolls, like you were starting to draw like a thing, and I was like, oh, is that what the paper doll is?
This is so when you hear someone say paper doll, and you know what a paper doll is? Like
I've never heard that before.
So paper doll is like a children's toy where there was literally like a piece of felt. No, that's not Master Chief's real face. I do know what it looks like though. So there, back to what a paper doll is. A paper doll is like a kid's toy where you would have like a piece of paper or felt, and then you would cut out pieces of paper from, like you would color them, and then you would cut them out, and they'd have little tabs. So there'd be like, you would have, you know what? Shit, I'll just find it.
Before my time.
Back before we had iPads, we had somehow, damn it. Before we had, I didn't have Netflix. So this is a paper doll, right? Like, that's someone making a. Oh, here's an example of like the tabs, right? So there's stuff that you can switch out, and you fold the tabs around the paper. And this is a term that's used in games pretty often when we talk about armor customization, right? Like Skyrim is a paper doll model. Your character isn't that important. You kind of pick how they look at the beginning, but you're not. It's not like Overwatch where you're not changing stuff out in Overwatch, right? It's a swappable system. So when you talk about paper doll, you're focusing less on character individuality and more about making badass armor.
So that's the Canadian government right there, or the Prime Minister.
That's Trudeau.
Now you know why he got elected. And there's your Superman release.
Gorgeous man. So when it comes down to Spartans, what I'm talking about, this principle I was saying before, like, let's simplify it down completely. You're on your paper doll guy, which is just, we'll just draw really quick. Oh, here's a human figure. Pretend that's a really beautiful human figure. You're not going to have a square head with circles all throughout, circles here with triangle leg. You can do this kind of thing, but as soon as you do triangle thighs and circle shoulders and here, you need to make sure you're echoing it, you're combining them, right? You're not just letting them sit by themselves. So, okay, well, we want to have this made out of squares and circles, so we're going to have a rectangle forearm, and now these two are friends. And then we want to have a circle here, and maybe we have a triangle on top of the square visor. Does that make sense? Like when I talk about repetition, you're finding those. This is a very simplified form of it. you're finding those elements. You're saying, here's my number one of this shape, and this is the emphasized location. The helmet is a square, and that is the first square you see. But then over here, you notice smaller squares, and this is your 2, like you see kind of a bigger thing. And then down here you might have one more little one, or peppered throughout, and that's like your third, right? So you have your primary shape, secondary, and third. And this also goes to big, medium, small, or hierarchy. You have your primary area where that shape is, it's like that's its place to shine, and then you're balancing it out with other things. This works with angles, like I was showing you with the gun. Let me find a okay, this is good. I'll use Halo because I just immediately know kind of what I'm looking at here. And it gets a little bit more complex, but you can see that this angle right here is echoed here, it's echoed here, here, it's over here, it's over here. But it's you see many more instances of it here. Then you have here's your dot, dot, dash, dot. I'm talking, that's like a Morse code term, obviously, but you have these angles. They're all friends with each other, and if you just kind of notice those angles, suddenly you can see them popping out at you as all being, they're friends with each other, and they're mirrored here as a counter angle, and then you have them appearing over here just so that it's balanced out. Then here you have straights, and over here on this left side you have straights that go clear across the form.
Now,
and then over here you have them again, right? So
is the reason why they're concentrated in that area because of gameplay, where when you're wielding the weapon, that's going to be the part that the player is going to see the most, because
possibly
of where the hand is?
I think it's more common. It's more about the shape of a gun, where a barrel is long and it's, you know, that's your kind. You think of the barrel as being the long part where the bullet has to travel, whereas up near the handle is where all the mechanisms and things are. So it's a little more complicated, right?
So
that's more it, I would say.
In
yeah,
general, would you argue that? So sorry if I'm talking over you. I don't mean to be interrupting. It's on my end. Your mic cuts out a little bit. So
oh, I'm sorry.
I thought that was a pause. I was wondering if, in general, anything that would be an interactive area on a character design should have a bigger concentration of detail, or anything that a player would actually be seeing a lot more of should have a lot more visual interest.
I would argue that, yeah, and that is something to think about. Because guns have a lot of foreshortening, and you want the more interesting parts to be up near where the viewer has their eye right next to the gun with an FPS. So that's actually a really good thing to point out. Areas of you want your viewer to look at areas of focus, and the way to do that is to increase contrast in those areas, and that can be through having a bunch of like if you have a big white shell, or let's say you have a big, like a shell of a machine, let's say it has little legs, and then on that machine there's maybe a little, you know, you have detail area. I'm just squiggling here with like a bright light shining on it. And you ask a player, where do you interact with this thing? And they would probably say, right here. Man, I wish my quickly drawn examples were better for you guys, but I'm just kind of trying to get the idea across. It's by adding frequency of detail, you will draw the eye, especially when it's against a rest area. And what you can also do when you're painting, you can make this area higher contrast, higher saturation. You can make it higher noise, whatever, and then contrast it, and also like more crisp. And then you can make this area more blurry, maybe less saturated. Like my point is, you can really control where a viewer is looking at something by where you focus detail, right? Characters, it gets a little more complicated because they're wearing all sorts of stuff a lot of the time, and so to create a really well-designed character where you're drawing the focus on 2 or 3 points of interest across the form is pretty difficult, and you really need to think about that. So like what I want you to look at, which is pretty common, is the head and maybe the hands, and then this backpack thing with this guy. So same thing here. Trying to have more contrast and more visual interest where you're actually it's emphasized, so you look at it on the head, the backpack, and the hands. I don't necessarily want the chest to be something you're drawn to, but it might have some fun little like I want to have little secondary arms maybe up against his body. They're kind of fun. If this is totally abstract and bizarre and I'm not making sense, please let me know. But just trying to, these are somewhat complex ideas, and they're ideas that you won't remember all the time, and you'll be reminded of them years later or months later after you learn them and go, oh yeah, I should be doing that in my art.
I do have another question about the paper doll thing, but just for also for those of us doing heavily armored characters, because there are quite a few, and I'm definitely doing this.
Yeah.
If it's like, let's say, for example, my Overwatch character that isn't Halo related, and you said to just go straight into designing it without using this process that you're doing right now.
How do you go about it, or?
Yeah, because obviously it's not a Halo paper doll, so what would we use as a base, and what would the general process be? And also, would we design it in a pose like that? Like, is that how you want it?
I would do one more like a 3/4. We started. It was harder to design, so there's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, I think you're going to get a more accurate result when you use it's hard. You send it off to an outsourcer, and like it would come back completely wrong.
But I mean, in the early ideation phase, because I imagine that when you're at this stage where you are just going straight into it, like on a paper doll thing, I would imagine that you're at the point where you're starting to actually figure it out so that someone could immediately build it and put it in engine. But I remember seeing some of the early concept sketches for Halo 5, and I can't remember, it was Daniel Chavez who designed, he did like earlier sketches of, it was either him or RoboGavo who did the sketches for Olympia Vale, and they were just, at least, it looked like just line drawings. I'm not sure if there was 3D under it. And then, of course, you did the designs for Fred, and you've got some really kick-ass earlier sketches, even the one with the dust-covered jacket. So earlier on in the ideation phase for like the full character, if your instruction is to avoid using that silhouette method and just go straight into the armor design, I'm wondering what the process would be.
Okay, I'll say this. If you are doing purely armor, if you're wanting to focus more on your armor designing abilities, Spartans are kind of a special case where it's we already know what their silhouette is, right? They have very iconic things about them already, where they have like the shoulder. We know they have a backpack thing, right? They have a chest, they have a helmet, most likely with a visor. They have a shoulder piece, they have a chest, stuff like that. So what I'm saying is, if you're literally doing a Spartan, you can probably skip this thumbnail phase and go straight to just sketches like what I'm doing right here. When I would tackle a Spartan at 343, I would usually start with a page of helmet sketches. I would pull up motorcycle parts or plane parts or just some kind of existing tech, and I would just start doodling helmets. And I'd try to be quick. I would often just leave my desk actually and go draw on paper somewhere and try and just come up with some fun ideas. I would look at existing, like I was working for a while, like a centurion, like a Roman centurion helmet, stuff like that. So you can try and find some inspiration and then just start doing pages of helmets. Like if you look at Sam Brown.
This is the sketch I was thinking about, by the way. I just posted it in the thing.
Yes, and that's totally okay. So he probably started more with helmet sketches from what I saw. He started more with busts, chest, and helmet. Here, let's see. Robo, Gabo.
I posted the Daniel Chavez one in the chat, if you saw it.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So if you look at this stuff, and this is since you like are more familiar with the concept process, that's totally cool if you want to jump into this stuff. But
well, the thing is, I know like very little about the actual rules of the Halo design language, so this is very intimidating for me. I'm also asking not just for my Halo designs, but also the Overwatch character, who, other than her face, is pretty much a giant armor suit. So that's something that I'm sort of wondering, without knowing the recommended process for going about it, it's just going to be a bit intimidating for me to know what to tackle.
You have an advantage in that you have a whole lot of Spartans to go off of already. Like if you look at Spartans, they have this very specific language to them where it's almost like tank stuff. It's kind of got an angular look to it. They have these rectangles. There are a lot of shapes that repeat themselves. If you go back and look throughout all of the Halo stuff, it's changed a bit since the original Master Chief, which was more organic looking, and it's moved more toward like American. It's almost like that American aesthetic with tanks and kind of chunky looking stuff mixed with some Japanese aesthetic of having angular, almost Gundam-esque kind of stuff to it, or Gundam-esque shape language to it. So I would say Gabo usually started with a bust or helmet when he was really first starting out, and then he would go over to like a full body. At least that was my experience. The thing is, it's however you really want to do it. There's no right or wrong way. But I noticed him starting off with helmet sketches, especially for Locke. He did like 5 or 6 different directions with that, and then picked one. So,
well, I'm more asking about like after he did the helmet sketches. Someone actually, Sean, asked in the chat also he wanted to see the helmet sketches you were talking about. But when you draw the body, like I'm more curious about the process because you were demoing the silhouettes, and you said that it's a different process for like would he literally just draw out the figure, or would he work off of a base like in those Fred sketches because they don't look like the paper model stuff?
He would just go off. He would draw his own body, but you have to understand. Well, it's like, are you designing a Spartan that's a main story Spartan, or is it a Spartan for multiplayer? Because they're 2 different stories, right? With the Spartans for campaign, which it sounds like maybe you're wanting to do, you just started it on a whole body, and you might not want to do a whole paper doll thing. But at that point, I'd say you should probably go into silhouette phase, because if you look at the thumbs next to each other, they're so different from each other that they're almost like silhouettes. Do you know what I mean? He's really proficient, and that Gabo can just draw what he means immediately, and there's no like, oh, I should explore that. It's more like, oh, I just got that right the first time. So
for me, line is really intimidating because the way I work, or the way I've worked up to now, is largely blocking in silhouettes and then photo bashing. Line art is like my personal kryptonite. But the thing is that one of my other goals in taking this class is I do want to improve in my digital drawing ability. That's a big priority of mine. So I'm wondering about when it's super early in the process, like, because to me it seems like Robo Gabo and Daniel Chavez are experienced enough where they could just jump right into doing the line drawing. The way I've worked even on the job thus far is it typically comes later on in the process. and I'm down to do whatever you say is best. I know it's not a matter of right or wrong, but for something like the week 2 assignment, I'm just wondering if for those kinds of characters, should we do stuff like the Robo Gabo thing that you posted or the Daniel Chavez pick I linked for a week 2 kind of thing, or because I was under the impression that that would come much later.
That normally would. I would say okay. So if you see what I'm doing here, right, with this, like this is kind of a helmet sketch. Okay. For you, like this. Like I'm not focusing on pretty lines. I'm just trying to get, just doing a bust, right? I want you to do 5 busts of Spartans for this week, or if that's what you want to focus on. Don't worry too much. You can start off with like shapes, right, and then draw over it. Robo Gabo would do this thing where he had like, at least he changed the process a lot, but he kind of started off doing. He would start off making shapes, right, and he would kind of do a darker one and just go over the top, and then he would pick that again, and he was just layering. He was basically painting really quickly, right, and he's just finding stuff. And this is exactly what I showed you with the Trevor Claxton stuff, with his first sketch. And then he would kind of turn it down and go over the top of it and just really, really quickly find a shape that he liked and just start drawing into it. So you can start, if you're unfamiliar with how Spartan language works, you can probably jump right into trying to experiment with drawing arms or heads and see if you can find a shape that you really like. So I can take this shape that I drew on a shoulder and I can apply it to a helmet. So maybe it's kind of like a really high visor, and I'm just really I'm telling, like, the way that I approached Spartans was always to start with helmets, because that helmet will inform the rest of the rest of the armor can follow suit after the helmet. You may notice this one on the top left is Goblin from Halo 5, and that whole armor looks like this helmet. Start doing like either 5 or 6 Halo helmets, or you can extend it down to the chest. But if you just look at where did my thing go? If you go like this, don't focus on this stuff on the left yet. I wouldn't go to that yet. I would just focus right here. This is a great way to explore. It's almost like a thumbnail to just draw a helmet, right? And you're going to find shapes that you like. You're going to find, you're going to learn. I can give you feedback once you draw a few. It's kind of hard off the bat because I would just say, well, go look at the Spartans and try and show me what you think the shapes in a helmet would be. And what those mechanisms would look like. I think Gabo's stuff is a really good example, and Isaac Hannaford's Spartans are really good example.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that name, so I'll definitely look up his work. I was just wondering, just because I don't know the process of where to start before I get there, or like how to get there. So, especially because shape language is just really intimidating, so I will no doubt screw it up. But someone else had a question.
Oh yeah, shape language.
Wanted to ask about shape language, and I really don't want to monopolize. I was just confused, like, as to what to do.
Okay. So. Yeah. In the future, like this, I'm just realizing this has taken up a bit of time. Like, let's try and talk offline a bit on this kind of stuff. It's really specific to what. But since there are other people who probably have similar questions.
Yeah, that's the only reason I was bringing it up, because yeah.
Because I didn't really get to do any thumbs here. But that's okay. I think that basically just do a page of helmet sketches. Like, you don't have to get even too detailed with it, and just look at a bunch of former Spartans. I would say Daniel Chavez stuff is, here, I'll show you. Like, this is Daniel Chavez helmets. They're really interesting, but I wouldn't call these traditional Spartan helmets. He gets really wacky and wild with his stuff. They're kind of like, this one is definitely very Spartan. whereas this one is not. This is like Destiny, right? Or even beyond that. This is really far out. Like I don't think I'll ever see something like this. He's very creative and very like this is really awesome, but that visor's really wacky. This is very, very cool. I think I could see this in Halo 5, right? So just look at some stuff. Do the helmet sketches. Like I'd like just put them on the forum, and I'll get back to you and tell you what I think's working about them. And then from there, your process is going to be a bit different. You're going to start fleshing out shoulders and chest, maybe from there, and figure out what does that backpack look like. Like I think you're going to spread out from the helmet rather than thinking of it as a whole. If that makes sense. So.
Sure. So whoever wants to ask another question.
If you have any more questions, please let me know about that stuff. We'll talk about it offline, and I can try and talk you through it more.
Corey? I'm jumping in here real quick, sorry. I'll possibly jump on tonight for about an hour for anybody just to go over portfolio in the forums. Just kind of talking about some general do's and don'ts for putting your work out there and where to put your work and how to put it. Also talking about getting featured in 3D World and Imagine Effects and stuff like that. So if anybody is having trouble with the forums or never used forums, if anybody's having trouble with portfolios or has questions about portfolios, I've noticed one of the biggest problems out there is people really don't know how to fucking present their work. When you're putting your work online, you need to be delicate with that, and you need to understand what you're doing. So I know we covered that in your class last week a little bit, but if anybody wants to jump on at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time tonight, I'll probably jump on for about an hour. I may change that time. I'll put it up on the forums and get some music up there, guys. I want to hear some new music. But
where are you going to how do we access that?
How do you access? So I will go ahead and put a thread up. If you guys post a thread up on your Facebook group or just on XYZ, and then I will post the link to the GoToMeeting there and general discussions. I'll put it in each of the classes as well. But if you guys go to general discussions on the main forum, good question, Corey, thank you. General discussions on the main forum, I'll just put live Q&A for portfolio and XYZ website, and just check in on that for the time, and I'll walk everybody through any of the features if you're confused with any of the features or how to navigate, and just talking about a little bit of branding and name building and how to use all these websites like ArtStation and XYZ and CD Society and stuff. All right, cool. See you guys later. Thanks for coming in. Thanks, Corey, for the class, man.
Let me give the homework out really quickly.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not shutting it down. That's you guys shutting it down. So take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
I should probably go to that. I probably can't tonight, but if I had time, I would, because I could use some help on my presentation. Let's talk, Travis.
You're doing just fine, Corey, man. You do great work, buddy. I'll talk to you guys soon. Later.
Okay. So I'm sorry that I kind of focused on those questions about the Spartan stuff a bit, but it's actually good that we talked about that, because I don't want you guys to feel like you necessarily have to do silhouettes if you don't think it's the best thing. If you're doing armor, if you're specifically doing Spartans, I wouldn't suggest doing silhouettes because you already know exactly what you want to do. Or if you really want to focus on starting with helmets or like busts, a bust is head and chest and shoulders, you can start with those, and then you can go from silhouettes later. But like the point is having a good character. Like if you're doing armor, silhouettes might not be the best way for you. I still would suggest doing them. I still think it's a good. I would say even with Spartans, you can still explore that stuff with silhouettes if you really would want to follow exactly what we did with Spartans on Halo. Probably started with just helmet sketches because we have done so many silhouettes as concept artists that we kind of know what we want off the bat sometimes. And I'm just running you through this stuff because it's good to do. It's really good exercise. So, yeah, I did too. But I kind of like those a little bit. I would probably just riff on a similar thing. And something that you can do is, like, after you've done 2 or 3 silhouettes of that one character, like I said, turn them off so you can't see them, and try and start from a completely different viewpoint, and try and make it a completely different idea from what it was, still based on your character description, and you might find something new from that. Well, I'm trying to find my concept.
Sorry to cut in, but yeah, sorry, I have a few questions. So like you said, if most of your characters' proportions are already similar, then it's better to just do bust and head sketches then.
If you already know exactly what the general silhouette is, like if it's a Spartan or if you're, if you're doing something like that, I can see that being valid to just jump to heads. You may want to do, once you start moving into a whole body, I still would say you want to do thumbnails, you just don't need to do silhouettes, but you can draw and still keep it small, because then you can experiment quickly. The purpose of doing thumbs and thumbnails is because you can quickly ideate, and you're not focusing on little details, you're focusing on large shape. You know what I mean? You're focusing on like a whole shoulder with one internal shape, as opposed to all the little nitty-gritty parts of a shoulder pad. That's the important part. Like with a helmet, yeah, you're going to draw certain smaller parts, but you're still not going to get down in there and draw every little screw by detail. You're going to generally apply them. Like if you look at this stuff, it's not, I don't know exactly what he's making there. He's just saying this is an area with more noise. This is an area with more rest, but there's some screws in it, right? Like that's the way to think about that when you're starting out. You're not getting, don't get too detailed. Keep things simple for now. Class modules, is this?
Cool, thanks, dude.
Yeah, hope that helps. I'm trying to find my stinking, hang on a second.
Corey, hopefully I can now ask the question I had an hour ago. It was about using reference and not copying them, but just using it as inspiration.
Yes. Yes. Don't worry about that for right now. I mean, here's the thing. If you have multiple references up and you're pulling from little parts of them, as long as you don't draw literally what's there, like copy an arm exactly or a shoulder pad exactly, it's going to be fine. You're not going to... as long as you're not literally just copying it and looking at it for inspiration, then you're good to go.
Okay, thanks.
So that comes into play later with actual, the actual interior detail stuff. I might just have to post the homework on the forum because I'm having a hard time. Wait, what's that?
Can I ask a question, or are we over time?
Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to take us back to shape language quickly.
Yes.
You were talking about the hierarchy of having, like, if you have one shape family, that you want one instance of that in the design that is like the dominant one, and then you echo it elsewhere.
Yeah, and then you could have secondary shapes too, yeah.
Yeah, does that go for the, like, say if you have squares, circles, and triangles all in one design, would you want to have a hierarchy there as well? Like, it's mainly squares, then we have some circles, and maybe like a few little triangles here and there?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Hierarchy applies to literally everything, in my opinion. Yeah. Some people might disagree with me, but I think that you should try to implement it with contrast, areas of rest, color, shape language, everything. Like, you will have a more readable design if you do that.
Cool.
I think everyone, by the way, oh, David, don't worry about that. I think everyone benefited. I talked about that stuff brought up that whole hierarchy of shape language and stuff, right?
Oh, no, I just feel bad because, Dustin and some of the other students are basically saying that, I should be more mindful to the students' questions. The only reason I was bringing it up were that, I was asking questions about what you were doing in the demo, and that kind of led to you telling me to do something different, and I was confused as to what you meant. So, but I felt like other students are doing similar things, so they might benefit from that. But I didn't expect it to take that long. So I feel really bad because you wanted to get to the demo and other people wanted to see stuff. But the only reason I was asking it in class is because I know other students are doing similar things, or it might be helpful to them. There are other questions I've refrained from asking, which I'll ask you privately. So.
Oh, that's good. So I'll just say this. Next time, I'm going to have, like, sorry we're over a few minutes, I know. But next time, I'll have a little Q&A session before I demo. and say, all right, or at the end of feedback, and I'll say, is there any questions that you guys have related to your assignments or what you want to do personally that I can answer briefly? And then I'll try and determine if that's something we should talk about in class or not. And then during demo, let's try and keep questions specific to what I'm demoing on, and that'll just help us get a better structure going. And I'm still, getting used to this character class. Like, it's a little bit different than last time.
Cool.
So.
I just feel bad because I don't want anyone to, feel slighted.
I don't want people to feel like they can't ask questions. So that's, and you're just asking what you needed to know. So this week, I'll just give you an assignment because I can't find my dumb thing that I wrote it down on. I don't know why. I want you to start with like a page of thumbnails. Like, I want you to take those 2 or 3 character ideas and just fill up a page, try and give them even representation. Like, probably, if you can do like 10 silhouettes per character, that'd be great. And that's going to push you to make a bunch of different ideas based off one character idea. Sometimes, and I do this too, you fall into drawing the same thing over and over for that character idea. Really try and push them apart. And like I said, if you find yourself drawing the same thing over and over again, turn those off so you can't see them, and look at some different reference, try and get a different frame of view, and start over on it. Don't use that same. Another thing is, for this week, don't do variations on one silhouette yet. We're going to save that for the next week, where we're going to like pick a few, and then we'll do variations on them. So you could maybe, if you have one that you're like, I like this silhouette, but what if it also had this giant arm, but in this silhouette it has a giant set of wings? That's fine. But try not to do like one silhouette with a bunch of different slight variations. Try and do really different stuff. So, and also get your reference sheets put together this week as well. And as always, as I will say every week, sketches. I don't need to see them necessarily unless you want to show me, where you can pick a couple of your favorite pages and throw them on the thread. But I need you guys, or not need you, I guess, but I want you to be sketching at least a page a day. And that's going to help you stay fresh, get you thinking, keeping you creative. Because if you take a day off from drawing, you will deteriorate, I promise. I feel it myself. If I take a day off completely from drawing, I go back the next day and I'm like, I can already feel it. It's like if you stop working out, right? So draw every day, a sketchbook page a day at least. I prefer 2 or more of relevant study. Some of you probably want to focus on anatomy. This isn't an anatomy class, but that's where you can focus on your anatomy study, is look up poses online, draw the poses. And if you're doing armor, look up a bunch of tech stuff, like whatever you want. There's all sorts of things to look at on Pinterest. I don't think I have to point you anywhere specific, but yeah, hope I've made my point there. So to recap homework, I need something like 10 silhouettes per character. I'm looking for about 30 silhouettes. If you can't get that many, it's okay, just try. And when I say silhouettes, I'm talking about like I think I'd rather say thumbnail, right? Like they don't have to necessarily be looking like this, but I think that they need to have enough information that I can sort of get the gist of what that character is and what they do and what they look like, right? To a certain point. So anyway, thanks for showing up, and I'll work on getting focusing better on how to compartmentalize our segments of class so that the demo, I'll try and do more time demoing next week too. Hopefully I can get to feedback online before class this week a little bit more. So anyway, I know we're about 10 minutes over now, so run along and have a good day and draw a lot.
Thanks, Corey.
Don't worry about it, Dave. Seriously, you're totally fine.
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Corey. I'll touch base with you later through Facebook.
Sure. Sounds good.
Cool.
All right. Later, guys.